So if you didn't notice, the beginning of the podcast was a little scuffed, to say the least. That's because normally Saurus handles that stuff, so you could see when I handle things like that, sometimes things go wrong. Because this is the first time I've set up the podcast, so I was trying to... I had everything nice and good, and all I did was move one window and change a little bit, and everything broke. Everything broke, and I'm not used to doing this yet, so hopefully... if I have to do this again next week, it'll be a little bit better, and if I have to do it the week after, it gets better from there. Right? So I'm kind of taking my job and Saurus's job at the same time, and he's here. He just shows up.
Yeah, and that's my job.
That's your job.
That's my job.
Your job's literally to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, send your love, but right away we have the monthly giveaway that BoredGamer threw up last week, I think. And what is it? It's Adventure Titan? I believe
Adventure
it's a
Titan and game package.
Yep.
The idea of these is to promote the Redacted community and content creators, and I'm going to kind of cycle through them, so that you'll see like being able to follow and subscribe to all of our social medias, but it will go through like Detox and Super Mac Brothers and me and Twerk and Saurus and all that sort of jazz and Noobify.
Bunch of people.
Yeah, and Gray. And because a lot of them, although we have the podcast and stuff, we don't really kind of showcase our content creators because we're all doing our own things at our own time zones and stuff, so it's really hard to coordinate. So I want to try and get some other people featured a bit more, so check that out. You've got to just pick on things to win a chip, maybe.
Nice. So yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into it, into what we did on ATV this week. And just before we start,
I'm gonna brace myself for boredom.
Yeah, so we could talk in general about ATV if you want right now. Okay, the beginning part wasn't boring. Maybe the way it was presented a little bit. I think what the guys kind of do now is they kind of just like read off a list and then hope that the video in front of them is kind of interesting.
We'll talk about the Xi'An image in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be actually the second to last thing that we'll talk about from ATV. Yeah. But the overall ATV was I don't know, it was I guess the best way to put it was pretty boring. I'd gotten home from a long night of work and was super excited. Like, I do not watch ATV or look at Twitter or anything like that when I'm at work because I want to have my first reaction to everything cool that they show on my stream that Friday morning when I come on. And I was falling asleep.
It was Spectrum, which is they talk about Spectrum and pad it out. Okay, I just want to know, wham bam, look, it's got some more threads and the next patch is gonna have this, and then we're gonna work on voice over IP. 20 seconds, boom,
done.
Next segment.
Yeah.
And the next segment, unfortunately, although was informative, was about a subject that my brain doesn't want to listen to. So it was just two really fucking boring things after one another, which made me just go, ugh. But that said, there were a couple of cool things, and the studio update from Austin was surprisingly good as well.
Yes.
Austin, they're compared to the other studios, they're the smallest one. They're
the least sexy one
stuff.
in terms of what they do.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some of the network stuff, and we heard a lot about network stuff after the studio update. But they don't actually have that much they can talk about content-wise because it's not sexy, as you said, Twerk.
Yeah.
And the other studios have got loads of little projects going on.
For sure, but I mean,
so what did we get? What did we get?
They started talking about what 3.0 features they were working on, and in particular, there's one that excited me quite a bit, and that's, as always, commodity trading, mining. I think this is something that you enjoy too, but a lot of what they said was from the LA studio, apparently. So they're working on commodity trading. They added it into the game, so it seems like it's in the dev branch, is the way he said it. So they're doing it in game now. They're probably QA testing it, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't sound like trading from person to person. It sounds like trading from your ship to another location, like buy at a location, go to another location, and sell at that location, right? Because like you can consider, like, if you were a new backer or somebody that's never seen this before and you came to ATV and saw what he said, you might think that is that is like, I take from my personal inventory, I hand to you, and I trade to you. But what is coming into the game is very clearly, for people that have been here for a little while, is buying commodities at like some sort of a kiosk at a space station or some location on a planet perhaps, and then transferring it somewhere else and then selling it at that location, right? And it's all probably going to be done via your handheld mobiGlass or something on your ship or a kiosk at the store that you're selling it at, right? So it's not going to be personal items being transferred to each other yet, because, to be honest, I think that once something like that comes in, it's actually quite huge, right? That's when we start, like, that's when it kind of like becomes an MMO, in my opinion.
We are going to be able to, in 3.0, be able to grab boxes and
Yes.
loot the items that are handheld and take NPCs to sell, or certain NPCs to sell it anyway. Do you think that there's going to be part of that with the shopping kiosks as well, where we're about to sell those items to the shopping kiosks, or do you think it's going to be like give to a trophy collector?
Well, I think maybe you could sell it to an NPC. Maybe they'll have like a little location, like a little place to place the box, and then it will recognize it. Like you'll get an interaction prompt, like place box here or sell something, right, when you're holding it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you might be able to do something like that. But I guess what I was pointing out was real live player to player trading. That like somebody that's new to Star System might have read that and saw that might have seen something different.
Yeah, I think we will be getting deeper persistence that might allow for that functionality with 3.1 and 3.2. I don't think it's going to be for 3.0 at all, like player-to-player trading. I mean, we've got inventories.
No, I don't think it's coming for quite a while.
Well, I think you might be surprised with some of the stuff they need to test early on.
Yeah.
And with the persistent data refactor, which is coming in 3.0, which we'll talk more about the 3.0 schedule update, because there was some changes on there in a minute. But with that refactor, they're going to want to test persistent data transfers between accounts. That's a very important thing. How does this persistent data move around?
Yeah, and I think it all starts with this because what they were saying was that they were working on the shopping code rewrite, and this is all apparently being done in the LA office. Was the programmers there are doing the shopping code rewrite with the commodity kiosk, which, so you're going to go to a store, there's going to be a kiosk, we're going to buy stuff from it, and ship persistence. So I think it's the start of that system.
LA and not Austin.
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah, that's what he said. He's like that. The programmers in the LA studio are doing this. I was like, wait, this is the Austin update, but okay. I guess
so. The Austin did the UI and visuals for it then.
Perhaps, or they're not the one programming it, but the designers from Austin, I think, are the ones that design the system, and the programmers are implementing it. Is what I think happens. But they don't have any visuals of this yet, and they actually expect to show us them in our next update. So we'll see what happens with that. But ship persistence sounds like the first step to that system of like our inventory persistence, where we would share things between each other and all that jazz. So that's pretty cool. And for me personally, this was actually the most exciting little update that they gave us from this, because it'll be the first time that we have like a game mechanic that I've been looking forward to in game, and I feel like I can do quite a bit of where we can you just hop in and play and do some trading for a little while. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then this actually, to be honest, this might have been the most exciting thing, was the mission giver system, right? So yeah, it was very detailed, very, very detailed, this mission giver system. And I'm going to show it on screen right now.
We are going to have a mixture of conversational logic and a mission system, and some mission givers in the form of Miles Eckhart and Ruto as well. I believe that
Ruto is like the other one.
I think Ruto is Ortwin.
Yeah.
I
have no idea what these beeps are.
The lawyer. So we're going to get the solar system mission service, for 3.0, which is basically going to work out what's happening at various locations and what missions will be given. But I think that Mars Eckhart and these mission givers are going to have their own set of missions, and that they're going to be affected by what your reputation with them is, what missions you've done with them before. Are you an outlaw? Are you lawful? And that sort of stuff. And that will all come into like a big mission tree with them. Their missions might have some modularity and dynamic algorithmic components to them as well. So they'll be different every time you do them, so you could keep on playing them I'm not sure how persistent they'll be. Like if you complete them once, I actually assume as when you log back in that you'll reset. But
yeah, so like probably through a session you can try and do get a couple different endings, or well, I mean, certainly you saw that, and I was trying to get rid of this beeping that was on the cast for a second, was that you can see there's parts of where he knows you and where he doesn't. So they're already building the I've met you for the first time, here's the first mission that I've given you, and then you can come back right away and do a second one. And so now he recognizes you, and he'll kind of be like, hey, buddy, I got another mission for you, right? So there's like kind of an arc for your play session, it sounds like to me. Like I kind of agree with you. I doubt it'll be a thing that stays persistent, because there's only, what, 8 on either side or whatever that you can do.
Well, so my hope was that is a very simple part of the tree. Like, I'm hoping that eventually, at least anyway, that they will be able to do some of that dynamic algorithmic component and modularity with even those high tier mission givers, so that they can like modularly work out a new mission for you. Like they might have like 200 different voice different like speeches and little segments that they can do, that they can kind of slot together.
Well, what's cool, I mean, if
new mission,
yeah, perhaps, but if you even did, I don't know if you noticed, but it seems like a lot of you're gonna have just a few voice and video sections, and then a lot of text based stuff. So they can, I mean, this can grow and expand pretty wide, even just from the hero mission givers, because you really only need the, hey buddy, how you doing? I got another mission for you, and then boom, it goes into something completely different once the subsumption mission system grows and gets bigger and bigger, right?
Even with the conversational logic with that, even if there's only 30 replies, they can do it so that you don't get the first one until you've gone through all the others.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes,
so it does
absolutely.
feel like it's all new. That's what you want. You want to be able to suspend your disbelief as little as possible, because you want it to be as immersive as possible.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's a good, it looks like a good groundwork for some what is it called? Where emergent gameplay, where I can go into game and say, I want to do some missions today, and I can do, a couple missions with him. There's Ruko or whoever else they're putting in, and then I can do. There's still going to probably be the ICC missions and a couple other things, right? So there's going to be a number of things that we can do where I don't always feel like I have to do the same thing every time, right? I can even. I'm sure Korea is still going to be around. I'm sure, I can even probably stop by Korea and see what's going on there. I feel like there's going to be quite a bit of things.
Even if you are doing the same thing again and again, it shouldn't feel like the same thing.
Yes. Or at least it'll take significantly longer before it feels like I do the same thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the first iteration, you'll probably quite worry, even if they do it really well. Eventually,
it'll still be small. Yeah,
you'll still be
first
like,
implementation.
But, I mean, I'm much happier not having 4 hours of content, but having, I don't know, 30.
Yeah, between like 20, 30, 40, something like that, depending on how far you want to stretch it. And then on top of that, I feel like emerging gameplay grows out of these things, because you could see that there's 2 sides to these missions, right?
Well, the idea with the missions was that emergent gameplay will form from the fact they're trying to funnel players into the same areas.
Exactly. So not only do we just have the groundwork of these missions, but stuff should happen on top of them, and then the experience might be different every time if we're all being funneled to the same areas. But Star Citizen backers tend to be relatively nice. Like, if you do the ICC, especially the first ICC mission, how many times do you get attacked by another person? Not that often, right? So I don't know how well that works. Like, what do you think about that? I don't know. I don't know how well that's going to work.
If you have directly conflicting, so the idea is that you don't want to be kill on sight with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously some people will, and some people will be pirates and outlaws, and that will be their thing, and they'll go to those areas because they want to loot and they want to kill people.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's gameplay there for them. And normally, hopefully, they'll appear as red, so you can go, that guy's an outlaw. Great, I know I can shoot him. But there's going to be missions that might be directly opposed to each other. It can be you need to get this before this person gets this. It can be defend an area. It could be to loot something in the same area as someone else, but they're not going for the same thing as you. There could be partly cooperative missions. There could be competitive missions. For me, it's having that ability to communicate with other people, choosing whether to communicate, and then seeing if you want to cooperate or compete. And the tension in a lot of situations is all you kind of need.
Okay, I still have a slight concern with that, and I think we talked about it this last week a little bit too, was that the issue that I have is that we already have opposing missions. They aren't as interesting probably as this, maybe not as rewarding as this either. So that might make my point here just completely null and void, where everybody's going to be funneled to here because it's so worth it. But at the moment, you have the opposing missions with the comrades. You have the opposing missions with the defender versus the outlaw. You have the bounty versus everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. I mean, maybe it's the fact now. It's probably this is probably what it is that we've been playing pretty much the same game for about a year now, where everyone's kind of bored of that, and it's not enough gameplay to do. So when people are in Star Citizen, they might just be taking screenshots or making videos, and they're not really concerned with a lot of the stuff that's going on around them, like those missions and like that gameplay that they're trying to create. Because I do remember when a lot of that stuff was first implemented, I was turning off comrades and people were coming to turn them on, and I was waiting, camping, and killing them and stuff like that, right? So
because
there was that stuff.
You hadn't had gameplay before. What the current iteration of Star Citizen lacks in the regards that you're talking about is a risk-reward hook and something to spend your money on. Once you have missions which have risk and reward, and you'll be like, I really want this item, and it's going to take me a long time to get. And when you go, I can make 30% of that of what I need to do by doing this mission, you'll get it'll be it's taking you like an hour or 2 hours to do. You'll be really intense. It'll be you'll be scared. We don't have that risk reward at the moment. It doesn't matter if you die.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if I die.
No.
What have I got to spend my money on? I can make everything I need to.
You don't even have to
like
spend your money.
minutes.
You just wait 2 minutes and get your ship back. You know.
So, yeah, well, obviously we're even gonna have insurance now in 3.0. But I'm talking about items I can buy. I can buy everything I need from in the game super quick.
Yeah.
And there's no persistence with inventories at the moment either. So even if I do beat someone up and steal their stuff, it's gone. Back in. So those risk-reward hooks, those reasons to play, and those things that you can buy, they are essential for the kind of hook to play, which we just don't have at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean the big part of that hook is I mean, I guess the most important one is the loop that holds the fishing line, which is the buying and selling of ships, or the buying of ships at least.
Oh my god.
And
like, I am going to.
But does that come in 3.0? No.
So it
probably
should.
not. It should.
They've got I'm 99% sure they've got the ability to allow us to be able to buy ships with Alpha UBC in engine. I might be wrong. I don't think I am. I think it's probably pretty.
The only thing that was stopping it was the kiosk, from my understanding. Maybe though it's issues with the inventory on the website, because this. Oh no, it wouldn't, because we have our ships and it knows what ships we have.
Move to persistent. Move back to move to persistent data. As soon as the persistent data refactors happened, we should be able to do it all without any issues. Now, I really, really, really want CIG to allow people to buy ships.
Yeah.
Alpha UEC from the game. Obviously, they get wiped from time to time, and I think that they'll actually genuinely make more money from ship sales after they do that with real life purchases, because people
I
might
hope
have to
you're
try
right.
the ships. They'll be able to understand if the game is right for them for that kind of shit. People, our average backer buys a $45 game package. Wham bam, great, everything's obtainable in game.
Average. Well, I wonder what the average backer buys now. Remember when the average backer basically bought a Cutlass? It was like the average backer paid $100. Like the average, the mean.
It was
like $90 to $100, right?
Yeah, last time we talked about it was like $92. I remember this conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a little bit less than that now, although I don't know. I'll look at the figures in a minute, actually.
Yeah.
I can work it out. But it's a thing where I want people to test out as much of the game as possible, have as much get as involved as possible. Now, you can rent these sort of ships with Rec anyway, but we want to be able to test them in the persistent universe. So why not let people buy them out for UBC? Come on, CIG. Honestly, trust me. When have I ever led you astray?
Well, I'll play devil's advocate here. This is strictly devil's advocate. I'm not. This is not my opinion.
Concern threads about Turk.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Turk doesn't want us to have ships, bastard.
No, it's not that. It's this is a lot of what the haters or the people that aren't as confident about the potential or where, you know, if the game's going to be finished or anything like that. There's lots of people talking about that, of course. There's, you know, Star Citizen's a very polarizing game, I think, at the moment, where I think some people would think that they won't do this. They won't allow us to buy ships because they want to continue selling concept ships. But we've discussed it. I even think we discussed it last week as well, that I think we were all in pretty much agreement too, was that if they allowed us to use the ships in game, they would probably sell more. Maybe not, but I think it really comes down to, and that will silence so many people, is if they allow us to buy ships in game, there's no more of there's a lot less, at least, of the negative connotations that people have about Star Citizen, and it'll make it so much easier to explain to people the game, or say, here's how you buy the game. It's just simple then. It's buy a starter package, then play the game. You know, where right now I feel like people don't. Yeah.
So, and the thing is that, but
they can't use it in the persistent universe, which is the game which is the game that everybody wants to play. I'm sure there is a section of the Star Citizen community that wants to play Star Marine, that wants to play Arena Commander, that wants to race. I have very recently gotten obsessed with racing and like got a decent top 20 lap time. Like, I was super pumped about it. And
already?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm like, yeah, I'm hyped about it. All I kind of want to do is race right now. But the overall people, or the people that Star Citizen's trying to reach, are people that don't have the game yet, right? Like, what's important to them probably right now, and as we saw on last week's happy hour, is they're looking for the new player experience, right? They want to bring in new blood. And so do we. I mean, everybody in the community wants more people playing the game. The more the better, right? The more in our servers, the more everything, the better. So, except for our FPS, of course, at the moment, right? The more people in our servers, the less FPS. But the thing is if they get those people, if you're easily able to say, this is what you have to do to get in the game, then that referral program that they're trying to push so hard right now is so much easier to do, right? It's, hey, $45 package, you buy everything in game, there's no questions about it. Because that connotation about the $3,000 ship and the $15,000 game package, it's just much easier to explain. Is that's additional support if you want to do it. This is a Kickstarter. If you want to go above and beyond, it's much simpler to explain, I think, if they just allow you to buy ships in game. But in my opinion, it might hurt their bottom line a little bit. You seem to disagree, but I don't know, man. We'll see. But it becomes a game when you do that.
I think they need to rely on the merits of the game and the vision of the game.
Yeah.
So allowing people to try out those ships in 3.0 will make people feel more part of the development. It doesn't matter if the game is a buggy piece of shit in certain areas of development and certain stages of patches. We are supposed to be volunteer QA and have our influence on balance and getting these bugs out and stuff. Yeah. I love that. I really enjoy that.
I love being in Evocati. It's fun.
But no, I'm talking out of Evocati. I'm
yeah,
talking about
in general too.
Even live matches. Like
it's all the same.
Influence everything.
Yeah. I think we're just more focused in Evocati. That's all.
Well, so Evocati, Evocati people are there just to hammer out the most major blocker bugs.
Yeah,
that is it. They go, what are these blockers that will prevent people from genuinely playing the game? And that is what Evocati is supposed to do. And go, also, there's like these issues which kind of need to be addressed that you might have forgotten, or this hardware doesn't work with the game, causes it to crash. Stuff like that. Right? That's the important Evocati job. Wham bam. I'm shit as an Evocati member because I'm really bad at detailing the issues. I've realised. It's like good at writing scripts for videos, really bad at numbering points for I
pretty much just stuff. When people need something reproduced, I try and reproduce it. I think that's being a good, and that's not just being a good Evocati person. When just as a backer, that's one of the best things you can do is reproduce somebody else's bug that they found, and the more reproductions and the more things on it, the higher it goes on the list, and the better chance that QA finds it and it gets fixed, all that kind of stuff. So that's, I mean,
and they just recently updated their lists for PT Waves and Evocati in preparation for 3.0.
Yeah,
and I do suspect that there will be other chances for people to get involved with the Evocati and those early PT
I would imagine they would need quite a few people for this. This is a massive update, right?
I'm going to try and be a better Evocati member by actually learning to write things better. I'm dyslexic. I do have problems with it. But
so yeah, once again, hopefully we'll see updates, more updates, because again, they didn't have much to show. I mean, they did show something pretty cool, was all the details of that mission giver system. We went on a bit of a tangent, but they were again saying hopefully in the next update they'll be able to show more. So we'll see. And I don't know if, because he said the next update a couple times, I don't necessarily know if he means tomorrow's update or the next Austin update, but regardless, hopefully we'll see something kind of new and exciting from those two things, specifically the commodity stuff and the mission giver system, because I mean those are kind of the groundwork of 3.0 in my opinion, at least. So we've seen quite a bit of Levski over the years, I guess now, right? And they showed a little bit more of it while kind of explaining some of the stuff that they were going to do there. So
smuggle, mate. Smuggle.
Yeah. So what? I'm losing my. I have such a bad memory that I'm losing my mind about what the name of the gentleman that does the updates from Austin is. But he said, "Go ahead. Do you know it?"
Is it Jay Cross?
Jay Cross, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
He said they're working on how players will smuggle into the city, and what do you think that means exactly? I feel like it means smuggle themselves, but there's also this commodity trading system now. So do you think that it means items as well, or both?
I think both, but
yeah,
I think so. One of the things they talked about a while ago with Levski, Levski was supposed to be this like 3-layered thing where it's got the main landing zone, which is kind of built up and relatively lawful, and they're going to have shops there and that sort of stuff. Then you're going to have like the entrance to the tunnels and slums, where it's a little bit less lawful, a little bit more off the beaten track. And then you're going to have deeper into the tunnels where they've mined out, and that's going to have criminal elements and people possibly to fight and that sort of stuff in there.
Yeah,
and I suspect that those tunnels will be linked to the outside as well. You might be able to sneak into.
Yeah, and have no armistice zone in them, similar to Grimhex or whatever, right? So
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and that's one other thing that they mentioned, was that they were kind of trying to figure out what they wanted, what kind of content they wanted to put in those side tunnels. They're still working on that. And there's also factions. And I found it funny because he said he didn't want to go much into that, but I mean, unless they're planning on changing the lore, I think it's pretty obvious what factions live there. So for the people that don't know, Levski's landing zone was kind of the hotbed for the uprising of the UEE to kind of take down the Messer era or whatever.
In Star Citizen.
Yeah. So so there was a lot of political radicals at the time there, and they were kind of rising up from there to kind of take down Messer. So that, I would imagine there would still be a lot of that. Maybe there'll be a few other. What they might mean by factions is kind of pirate factions that we see in the Stanton system, because these are, we got to remember, is this isn't supposed to be in Stanton. It's going to be for a little while, but it's going to be in the Nyx system itself. So I would imagine that they're kind of maybe trying to create the factions for the Nyx system, because yes, in the Stanton system, it's a star system. It's huge. There's 4 planets there. So there's going to be criminals. There's going to be, I mean, in the United States, how many different gangs are there, right? Now we're talking about a whole star system. So there's going to be...
They don't give me quests, though, the gangs of America.
They don't, awards. But they might. They will in Star Citizen, regardless. You know, you do one small deed. You steal a candy bar from the shop, and the gangs in Star Citizen start reaching out to you. But yeah. So I would imagine that they're working on possibly stuff for the Nyx system. What those factions might end up being like, or just adding factions to the Stanton system for the time being as well. So just little bit of that, and then moving on to more Cutlass stuff. This is not super exciting. It's not super different than what we've been seeing. We all know the Cutlass is being worked on, but I guess the only kind of reason that it's worth sort of discussing is the fact that Josh Coons is working on the damage model. So once you start working on the damage model for ships, if you've been around the development of the game for a while, that typically means it's coming to an end, right? At least on the art side, for Josh, is that his job's almost done, right? And then he's going to be moving on to the next ship.
It's damage states and levels then LODs, isn't it?
Yeah, so it goes but the LODs are done via somebody else. So for Josh, this is Josh's last job, is my understanding of how it works. So, you know, just kind of bringing up on the podcast that it's getting closer, and it's probably relatively close. And I mean, pretty sure we're getting it in 3.0. I would think. So I'm sure this is the final push to get this ship to us in 3.0 and enjoy some of the gameplay. And this gives you a good look at that little side.
I think it's going to be the primary boarding ship for 3.0. Like when we're trying to raid other people's cargoes and stuff. And I want boarding so bad. I hope it's the primary boarding ship for Star Citizen forever. Okay, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's kind of the point of it, is how I feel about it, is this is the boarding ship, right? I guess maybe not necessarily, but because we've had Matt Sherman in here mentioning that it's, you know, kind of good at some things. It's 33% a boarding ship, 33% a combat ship, and 33% a cargo ship. But it's certainly going to be the poor man's boarding ship, definitely. Obviously, the Prowler's going to be like the super high tier one in a lot of situations. Yeah. And I love what the Cutlass Black has become. I loved the looking at those damage states and how the wings are going to fall off and stuff. And if Star Citizen does anything properly, it does. It's ships and fidelity. Yeah. Like, it's just a shame we're not getting breaching in 3.0. I think we have to wait for 3.1 for that. That'd be so cool. But yeah, so he's working on that. Just a minor update on like a quick thing he mentioned about usables. I didn't quite get exactly what was going on with that. Obviously, they're working on us being able to pick up things and use them, and the item interactions and stuff like that. They showed a little video as well of the animation team working with the usables as well. So just a quick kind of look at that, and maybe a small discussion of it, that they had their mocap studio going and they were working on all that kind of stuff, but nothing super crazy, you know. But I did find it very cool, the details on the box where they were carrying the box. And I mean, it's a mocap shoot, so the character's going to do what the guy does. But for some reason, my eyes always got stuck to how he shuffles his hand up the box to get a better grip on it.
I loved it. I loved it when after they moved the shelf and it was not clipping.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, win.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. We've been kind of seeing these updates for quite a while now, but overall, it's again more steps in the right direction, and it's, I don't know. I think it's always cool to see the mocap stuff and how they take that and it ends up in game. I've always found that to be the coolest thing growing up as like a little kid, watching. I don't know. I always played the NHL games, so watching them put the little dots on a hockey player at a rink and then capture his movements and everything. So yeah, there's also going on more with animations. Was the ship animations are being worked on as well. So from the ship animation team in Austin, they were working on Cutlass stuff, which they didn't show us, and then Dragonfly 0G, which they did show us, and there's the Dragonfly 0G right there, which I don't know if we've seen that yet. We've only seen it on the ground, like coming out of a ship or on a planet, right? I don't know if I've ever seen the 0G drop into the
to the seat.
Yeah, so it might be new. But the one thing that I really wanted to discuss with you is the hit animations in the cockpit, where the guy's getting, you're getting hit by guns or maybe getting hit by a missile and he gets shaken a lot. I'm nervous that this is going to make like aiming extremely difficult.
Yeah.
At times, but you're in a spaceship, like you get hit a lot, right? I don't know. I feel like it might hurt gameplay a little bit. What do you think?
You're not gonna shake too much with your shields up. Okay.
Okay.
If you've got your shields down, you're pretty fucked anyway, mate.
Very true.
Okay, so...
Depending on the ship, I guess, in the future when armor is like super implemented.
Yeah, I just think getting hit by any form of projectile when you're speeding around on that bike would probably make you shake a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And then I don't know, I just have like my small tiny concern about that, but like, so hopefully that's implemented well and isn't too crazy. Because I remember our emotes in game. Remember when you would be in first person and your head would just be like, you're just like, oh my god, I'm getting sick.
I mean, yeah, there's stuff I want to talk about. Some of the stuff we found, but we can't. It's NDA. But there have been some good bugs.
Yeah, I'm sure there's funny stuff
with animations.
But yeah, the last thing that I think is the most interesting and major update from this little section that we're showing here is the Gladius cockpit. So the Gladius cockpit, the FOV looks different. You're very far back. You could see almost all the MFDs, but you can't really see the nose of your ship like we used to be able to. So you're kind of like a little bit lower in your seat, perhaps, to give you a better view of the MFDs.
But they and the dev branch that they're using have the new FOV controls.
They do. So we could skip ahead to that a little bit. I mean, it's just the next section. QA was testing FOV controls.
Woo!
So they could be in 3.0 or a little bit later, depending on how that all works. So that's super exciting.
People that are worried that it might be exploitable, all they need to do is kind of not balance it, but make sure at the highest end of the FOV that it's not exploitable. So what is? End...
I'm not familiar. I'm assuming this is an FPS game exploit. I'm not a big FPS game player, so what would be the concern of somebody with an FOV slider?
So effectively, if you could set your FOV to whatever you wanted, you'd want the largest FOV that you could get without it confusing your brain. So typically in like a first-person shooter, I would try to go to 120. Would be my like pro MLG FOV. Typically, though, when you're using large FOVs, anything you're aiming at is smaller, effectively. So if you're more zoomed in with a smaller FOV, so you can see stuff more easily, I suppose. It depends what kind of gamer you are. So, though typically, if you want to play like a fast-paced FPS, you'd want a higher FOV. But something like around 100, 110 would be a nice cap in my opinion for Star Citizen. But it's whatever works for them. You don't want it too high because it's madness, and you don't want it super low because otherwise you get people complaining and going, why have I got blinkers? Really close in blinkers.
Yeah. So okay, interesting. But yeah, so I found it very interesting. Perhaps, I mean, you might be right that it's just the FOV controls that they're playing with. Might
not be.
I don't know though, because it's still, no matter what, the MFDs have been pretty major, like, kind of issue with like, again, we're in the Gladius, and it seems like the Gladius is the test ship for this each time, until they get it right, and then they'll move on to the other ones.
Used to be their gold standard for ships. So it was the ship they used to balance all other ships by, and it's like this is what other ships should be like, the damage states on this and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They kind of use a lot of different ships now, like per role. They go, this is the gold standard for this ship, and this is the gold standard for trade ships and whatever now. But Gladius is probably still pretty high up their list on combat ships.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing for the MFDs is in combat, right? Because if you're in I don't know, if you're in a cargo ship, you're not always engaged in a fight, or you're not at least looking for a fight, or the ship's role isn't to fight. So the MFDs were I guess the biggest issue with them was making it difficult to read them during combat, or take a quick look and see how much damage you're doing to their ship, or how much damage is on yours.
So the idea of MFDs for them to be useful in combat is that at a glance you know exactly what is going on with your ship, where you're being hit from, what's damaged, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah, you're right. We just didn't have that.
Yeah,
just didn't have that at all, and it was really stressful.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like that's definitely a focus, which is why I kind of wanted to bring it up on the podcast and see what you thought about how it looked. I like the idea of being further back, or the MFDs being easy to read, but it's also, it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it's because we've played so long for a certain way that it's it did feel a little bit weird as well. This kind of like really kind of low sitting.
It's definitely a step in the right direction for me, although I need to try it out and test it.
Of course, yeah. And we're seeing a 3-second clip. Maybe it's kind of tough to judge from that without playing it. But yeah, we mentioned just a few minutes ago was just a little QA update, because Austin has one of the biggest QA teams in the company. They're no longer focused on 2.6.3 bugs and all that stuff, and they're now moved on to the dev branch. Which, do you want to explain what a dev branch is for people that maybe wouldn't know what that is compared to what we play?
So dev branches are basically the branch of the game that they are literally developing at the moment. It's not something that we will be play testing anytime soon, if ever. And
it has the entire game in it. It has Squadron 42. It has all the ships that aren't being, that aren't anywhere near completion. It has everything in it that they're currently working on, so they can see it in engine and test it and all that stuff. So it's very wildly different from what we play, right? So that's what they're working on now. They're no longer on 2.6.3 working on that stuff. They're now focused on the dev branch, which is pushing towards 3.0.
It's more than pushing towards 3.0. Their dev branch for, I think, like 9 months or something.
Yes.
It's been on the 3.x dev branch. So
but when the QA team is working on it,
yeah, exactly.
It means something.
Much closer.
Yes. So just the notable things that they've been working on were new ships. What's new? And FOV controls, which is what we mentioned before. Those were the notable things that they felt like mentioning to us, right? I'm sure there's quite a bit more that's being worked on other than that. So now to get to the big fun things to talk about from ATV was the Xi'An image. It's... Yeah. You're going to get a copyright strike for that, dude.
I might, because it was so good. My singing of that was so good.
It was so good. It's weird. I love it and hate it all at the same time.
It should make you feel uncomfortable because it's an alien race that's humanoid. And I think that's good. That makes you feel a bit like, I'm not sure if I like it or not.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. It looks to me like a cross between, as I said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossed with a cave troll from Lord of the Rings. That's exactly what it is.
Somebody, I saw that posted somewhere, was the cave troll from Lord of the Rings side by side with him. Oh my goodness. It's pretty close comparison, but
Lord of the Rings, New Line, are very litigious as well. They'll be like, they've stolen our cave troll. So to speak.
I don't know why the link in the doc was this. I must have made a little bit of an error. I actually had I could probably look up in the history, but I won't do it right now in fear of breaking something at the moment. But I actually had a side-by-side of the original concept art of the Xi'An to this one. And I guess we could just explain the differences of what they did for the moment.
Well, originally, the Xi'An and the Banu looked very similar.
But the Xi'An also looked very, like, approachable and happy-go-lucky. And now they look very, like, I don't know, regal, powerful, strong, right? And that's kind of the kind of race that they are from the lore, right? They're not some sort of like pushover.
For me, they're very much like old Russian bears. That's the way I describe them. Okay, in my head, they're like this. They're quite a similar Russian race.
I see
politically,
like ancient Chinese.
Oh, I see.
Or Japanese.
Like Cold War Russian. That's the way I feel that Xi'An are like in the lore, and they're like this methodical, very good at espionage race that like will poison you and kill you with an umbrella. That's the way I see it, and I like the idea of their race being like strong and like big trees that go around and smash people in, like. But I suppose originally the idea of the Xi'An in my head was that they were like a lot thinner and weaker and more timid.
That's like the original imagery of them. It did feel more like that. Now they feel very, yeah. I don't know about like
cave troll.
Yeah, I don't feel like I see the look in the face of the cave troll, but I don't know. It just reads differently from me. So I thought this was a cool little.
The face of a Russian bear.
I do not see the look of a Russian bear whatsoever. I honestly see like an ancient Chinese emperor, looking over his empire, and I don't know, just a very honorable, smart, like regal is what comes to mind every time I look at this.
That's what I see at the Tavaran. That's the way I see the Tavaran.
The Tavaran seemed very, because like a lot of I don't know, but we saw they were like lanky and kind of scrawny, but they looked more, I don't know, karate, right? I don't know. It's weird.
That ancient Japanese art of karate.
So, I don't know. I find it very cool. And I mean, if you read the lore about them, I think their face now goes more with their personality traits, I guess. So, yeah. I thought it was an interesting look at them and that they're changing them, right? Clifford A.K. Miku says they look like a very proud race. That's a very good way to say it, is that he looks proud. Yeah.
Russian bears are pretty proud, mate.
Russian bears are pretty proud. Yeah. Okay.
So there's a new patch has come out. I mean, it hasn't got anything like amazing in it. It's not like the Delta patch, but a new patch has just been released.
For Star Citizen?
Yeah, for Star Citizen, mate. It's got the ability to adjust things. You can added manual bandwidth throttle for primary download method. So you can stop all of your bandwidth being bombed.
Oh, so it's a patcher update.
It's a patcher update.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe it's like the steps to the Delta patcher.
I mean, that's what we want, but it's bloody not, is it? They're going to release the Delta Patcher whenever the fuck they feel like it. I think we'll probably get the Delta Patcher when we get Spectrum overlay integration. Would be my expectation. It's probably built into that.
I mean, that was the original thing. That was the original pitch, I guess, with Spectrum was when Spectrum went to Spectrum Desktop, it was going to come with the Delta Patcher, and they're working towards Spectrum Desktop.
So I was trying to describe Spectrum to someone else, and I was going with the old Reddit and VoIP and Discord references. But it's more than that. It's like Steam and the Origin overlays and stuff now.
Yeah.
It's all of that integrated together.
Well, it's working towards that, right? Because for now, it's pretty much Discord plus forum software. But it will be those things.
It has to be really, really good. Because otherwise people will use other products for everything. Like, for every form of communication.
Yeah.
And you know how people are with those kind of overlays as well. Like, I can tolerate Steam, but all the other ones are hell. I hate them. So it's they need to tread carefully with Spectrum. It needs to be really good.
Yeah.
And that worries me. That is my worry with Star Citizen, that Spectrum needs to be superb.
For sure. I just want to point out that your part of your screen that you have our call on, it works perfectly because you're like looking at me on the podcast, and my part of the screen is like I'm looking at you on the stream. It's like we're actually having conversation. Pretty interesting.
How about now?
So, all right. So the end of the show brought something pretty fucking amazing.
Oh, this was actually really good. This was the best part of ATV.
Yeah, and our first look at anything like kind of legit Squadron 42. This was super strong, and we're gonna play it with sound so everybody can hear just how well the voice goes with his mouth, and it just looks so good. And just watch and listen if you haven't seen this.
Come on, Lieutenant. First we clear our assigned patrol, then we'll rendezvous with Trejo. And Lieutenant, make sure Trejo understands this is your op. She goes off again like what happened at the Sting, I'm pulling you. I'm not going to be your dad if that's what you're asking. Kid is just a nickname.
Very cool.
Patrol. Come on, Lieutenant. First we clear our assigned...
And you could see, like, on the cameras on the side, you could see how well everything goes with it. It just looks great. Board's going to be fuzzy, and I'm going to be sharp because of the mistake that I made at the beginning of the podcast. That will not happen next week. That'll be much cleaner looking next week. So just kind of deal with it for today, guys. I apologize. So, yeah.
Those of you that are hating on Mark Hamill's nose, I think he was in a car crash and it broke during the filming of one of the Star Wars films. So you guys are monsters.
I mean, and fuck, it looks just like him. So they took his real face, and it's in game. It looks literally like him.
I think those are supposed to be for the small picture, the little tiny wingman kind of responses. So that doesn't need to be that higher quality. And I actually suspect that's actually quite low tier quality for them. Like when you see Mark Hamill character Old Man in person, I suspect he'll be a significantly higher quality than that, but that will be the quality probably or thereabouts of the wingman pictures in your cockpit. Because what's the name of the other guy that we saw in the Gamescom demo? The guy that sorts out your landing pad, Samil something.
Oh, like when you're coming into Levski? I don't know. I didn't know what his name was.
Samil something is.
It was an actor. That's like his acting, like his real name.
Eslim McKen. Eslim McKen. Sorry, I remember saying it. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, in general, it looks good. I think it's a great update from the last time that we saw any facial animations was the Bishop speech, right? So, like not facial animations, but like legit in-game kind of video of.
I mean, we've seen
kind of stuff.
The remade face of the guy that the Morrow of Morrow.
Yeah,
And
but
then
not with
you might
sound.
want performance.
But
Yeah.
not with sound. I think the most important thing is sound.
Well, have you seen the
That goes with
Ash's
it.
speech from the three lateral demo?
Say that again?
Have you seen the Ash's speech
I
from the
have
three
not.
lateral demo? So basically, it does the three lateral faces that they're going to be using for Star Citizen, and does a performance of audio, and then shows that all of the faces can use the same audio to produce different responses with the muscle work.
Oh, because it's so well integrated in together.
Yeah, you have to watch it because you'll be like, oh, because then you'll see stuff like Mark Hamill's face in that picture and go, well, I know that the tiers of actually meeting them are significantly higher than that. So you'll see what I mean. Look at that. I'll try and find it for you for after the podcast.
Okay, cool.
So
Yeah, we'll check it out for sure.
It's amazing.
Once again, just a reminder, guys, if you have any questions, we'll be taking questions with about usually like half an hour left in the podcast. So make sure you type !question in chat and click that link and fill out the form and send me and Bored a question, and we'll answer it towards the end of the podcast. We also have a Gleam giveaway going on. It's our Redacted monthly giveaway. It is an Avenger Titan. You can type, I guess the mods will put the link in chat. I don't think we have a command for that at the moment, unless they've made one. And yeah, so just a little tidying up there. Moving on, there was Citizens of the Stars this week, where BritishCon was highlighted, and you were there. We have talked about it a little bit. And Eric Kyvern Davis was on Quantum Questions. This one wasn't super good, I guess. But I guess it was cool to talk about BritishCon and see what it takes to set up something like that. How much of a part are you, or are you just like the talent?
So the
Outside
the original one, a lot.
Okay.
This one, not much other than advertising and bouncing ideas. I'm good at like helping them out with ideas. I didn't want to be as involved this time because I'm relatively unreliable. I get panic attacks. I like drinking.
Yeah.
I'm a monster. I mean, this is about it. It's basically it. You know.
Cool. Yeah. So Quantum Questions this time weren't the best. And I don't blame Eric Kyron Davis on this one at all. I blame you, Star Citizen community. Because what they started doing was a little... I guess they've been doing this, but they took questions from the community on Spectrum, and they have the upvote system on Spectrum. So some of the questions that ended up in there were just kind of dumb, again. Where it was... one of the questions was, what is the one thing that's going to be in 3.0 that we don't know about? And it's like, what the fuck kind of question is that? If they were going to tell you about it, they would have told you about it in the schedule report. We know that there's things, and the reason that question was asked is we know that there's things in the schedule report that aren't on the schedule report that are possibly going to go into 3.0. Like, there's things being worked on. Not everything is in the schedule report. So somebody was trying to get him to say what's in the schedule report. But I don't know. That one bothered me a little bit.
I do wish they vetted the questions better for stuff that we know they can say.
Yes.
I don't need it to be 100% real, the show. I want to have tangible information from it.
Yes. Like, every week up to this has been good. There's been one cool, interesting thing that they've shared. Although this was sort of cool, where there was one thing where they talked about ship insurance. Will insurance be in 3.0, basically? Or will it operate differently or be voided for known criminals, is what it says in the chat. And they were like, oh, well, we had a design meeting about that this week, and we've discussed it. So, I mean, that's the only, like, tangible information that comes out of it. You know?
It was actually included in the new 3.0,
yes.
One of the new features that they put in there as well.
It's on the 3.0 schedule, is insurance. But the fact that they're talking about it now, I guess, is something that you can, I guess, hold on to a little bit and grasp and be like, cool. But this one, I don't know. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I have no issue with CIG saying, oh, the most upvoted question was, what's your favorite ice cream? And, just saying, no, we're not going to put that on our show. We're going to put the upvoted questions that can both be answered and are not shit. I don't know, like any other way to say it.
I'd like to see a mixture of the two. So I'd like to see a couple
Goofy
of
stuff,
questions.
absolutely,
Yeah.
to learn about Eric.
Questions, a couple of the high voted ones, or the most high voted ones. Maybe a couple from his work colleagues that know what's interesting that he's been working on. That we can talk about.
Absolutely.
It's hit and miss with quantum questions. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's sort of like, oh, that was a funny one, but I didn't get any info.
Yeah, and I don't like you. I don't expect to get info from every single thing. I mean, I guess I do. I like to learn about some of the devs too. I actually do really appreciate when they do that. When they have the devs on and you can learn a bit about them. Like I don't know much about music. But like Disco sang us part of a song and Eric Kyron Davis finished it. I don't know, like little stuff like that is cool too. You know. Yeah. But moving on. Again, we had happy hour, and this was basically our TV.
1 second. So, what was the song that he?
I have no idea.
Was it Total Eclipse of the Heart?
I have no idea.
Okay, twerk. Go down to the bottom. Go down to the bottom of the document.
Okay.
And click on that Project Eclipse picture and bring it up on stream. Let's talk about this quick.
Okay, hold on. Talk about it, and I'll bring it up because I have to do some hand wavium.
Star Citizen Twitter, they very briefly released a picture of a blurry, low-quality fence and a object behind it.
Yes.
This is almost certainly kind of teasers at Project Eclipse, which will be the Aegis Eclipse. So we can probably start to work out what shape the ship's going to be. It's probably going to be the next concept sale. And it's probably coming pretty soon. All
right, I have it up. So it's in the right side of the picture, on the right side of the fence. B-50. What is it? What was the name of the stealth fighter? The X. Oh, the one. It had a really long nose, but it also had the wings on the side. But they had vertical. Not an F-117, it was the big bomber, and it would do some kind of surveillance missions as well. The SR-71, yes, thank you. That's what I see. And the Eclipse is probably pretty stealthy, right?
Well, it could be stealthy, it could be an E-War ship, it could be an interdictor, it could literally have the interdictor that pulls you out of warp. And that's the sort of things that I'm thinking that it possibly is at the moment. I mean, I'd love it to be the most stealthy ship in the game.
Yeah.
But I want to see stealth tech.
Everyone's yelling at me and saying it's not a bomber. I don't know much about planes and stuff like that. I did catch it at the end and say that they did surveillance with it. Chat and YouTube comments. So I'm sorry. But yeah, so it was more for surveillance. But I think from what I can see from this picture, real quick, that was the first thing that came to mind, was the SR-71.
This was on the Star Citizen Twitter and then disappeared from there pretty quick.
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be like have Reddit got it? Yeah, Reddit have got it. They took it off.
Yeah.
That's what I think happened. And then, yeah, I don't mind stuff like that. I think that's quite funny. I'd like to see sneak peeks like this. I don't mind if they're done in lore. I just like to see stuff like this around.
Yeah.
It makes me feel part of the game before the game's released.
Well, and this kind of goes into what we were talking about last week and what was on Quantum Questions last week about where they kind of gave the, I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, about the next concept. I wasn't
reading too much into that. Boom.
Yeah. Whoever was saying we weren't reading too much into that.
Yeah. Don't you feel still not stupid now? Because that's all we can see. A little shadow of something, maybe.
Yeah. So, obviously, also, somebody said, is the picture upside down?
So people were flipping the picture the other way up, I noticed as well.
Because barbed wire sometimes is on the top of fences, but it's also could be at the bottom towards, like, some sandbags. Normally, like, it might be there.
Rocks aren't on the top of a fence, though, are they?
Yeah, idiots.
Or sand, or like the floor. The floor's not normally on the top.
The floor's usually not on the top. The sky, which is blue, in some places, is usually at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Normally. We don't know what planet this is on.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
So we go back to the Brian Chambers Tappy Ura.
Sure. Sure, why not?
So the first thing that is to note is that happy hour is now going to be fortnightly.
Yes, and for Americans, that's every other week.
Yeah, indeed. Not bi-weekly, fortnightly, every other week.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing something with the new player experience, either with the free time or instead of happy hour. I couldn't work out.
With the free time, I don't...
Yeah.
Okay, actually, in Quantum Questions this past week, at the bottom, it's like they have the schedule. They show it up in like a fancy little way. And at the bottom right was where happy hour would be, and it said taken off this week. So it wasn't like happy hour new player experience. It was we're taking off, and obviously the community team is getting involved with some sort of tutorial, new player experience type stuff.
Better not try and take the tutorials away from me, mate. I will Falcon punch him.
Wow.
Tutorials.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's gonna be great.
They won't dare to out tutorial me.
It's gonna be great when you PUBG Falcon punch somebody there. But it was pretty cool. There was a couple neat little things that Brian talked about, but we were talking about this before the podcast. Brian Chambers is a friend of a lot of the Star Citizen community. He's a gem, right? He comes on and says something that was so strong to me, and I don't think anybody else necessarily would feel comfortable saying this. And he said, "I see the backers as my publisher," and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I thought that was super, super, super strong. I don't remember what the question was that posed that answer, but he had mentioned saying, "I see the backers as my publisher," and that's why I feel like his dev updates are very detailed, and he tends to be one of the guys that gives away the most information. And I don't know if you have any more to add to that, Board, but I thought that was a really huge part of this, and this is a guy that I hope never leaves this company. Ever.
I love Brian Chambers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a leader of men. He's a genuine legend.
I mean,
he's so trustable and believable.
Yeah, and he's a great, like, we're talking about, like, just as a person at the company and as a person who updates the community. But obviously, just, like, in general, you've met him. I've met him in person. He's just a downright awesome dude. But what I was talking about is just straight up as somebody who ends up on these shows. He's a gem, man. It's the answers that he gives are just straight honesty, and there's never I'm not sure if I can talk about that, because I'm sure he's part of a lot of the conversations of what they can talk about and what they can't, or what's ready and what's not. I know he talks about that with his guys in Germany of what they're comfortable showing and what they're not just yet. So he just gives it. If they're comfortable talking about it, he gives it, and it's always good. And
all the time, it's if he's comfortable talking about it as well. So I think sometimes he'll make a decision like, yeah, we can say that.
Yeah, fuck it, you know.
Yeah.
They talked about procedural tech, the story of how they cracked it. So if some of you guys are new to Star Citizen and watching this podcast, I'll put the link in the chat right here so you guys can actually watch this yourselves and find out kind of the tech that his studio found basically changed everything. And they kind of talked about the whole story behind that, and I found that really interesting and cool to listen about. Even though I've heard it all before, I think we got a little bit more of the story, and it's kind of that whole story packed into one place, which was nice. One interesting question came up was, will there be solar eclipses, right? And he was like, well...
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good question, actually.
Yeah. He was like, no, well, wait. I mean, the planets rotate, so I don't see why it wouldn't happen, but it's not like they'll be planned on certain days or whatever. But based on the rotations of the planets, somebody can determine when a solar eclipse will happen where, right? Like, legitly, somebody could figure it out and say, this day, at this time, there's going to be a solar eclipse on ArcCorp in this place. It's not a scripted event, exactly. It's a thing that could potentially happen, is what he said, and he doesn't see why it wouldn't happen.
I love the fact that it's not an intended feature, but it might just happen because of the setup of the game.
Yeah,
because it is a universe simulator now.
Yeah, for real.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Possible Easter eggs to discover on the moon? Think Benny Henge?
They can't really tell us if there are.
Now, what I'll tell you, which is something that came out of my stream a couple days ago, was Luke Presley was there. And what he said he was going to do this time is, I originally thought he said they're not putting in any more Easter eggs. But then when I was like, oh, damn, that's sad, because I like the Easter eggs. It's fun. He said, we're going to not put them in Evocati or any of the PTU builds. So in the live build is when the Easter egg happens, and we're naturally going to find it. And whoever finds it first is just going to come across it. It's not going to be, hey, we put this thing in, go find it. It's not going to be, hey, we put this thing in Evocati testers, go find it, which is what happened with Benny Henge. I was the worst Evocati tester on Earth. The entire Evocati test, I was looking for Benny Henge the whole time. and never found it because it was crashing all the time. But as soon as it went to the public PTU, I found it instantly. And Luke was like, you could tell that he kind of got mad at me a little bit, maybe, because he was like, "Did you find that in Evocati?" And I was like, "No, honestly, I didn't." It was really because the lights were too bright in when it actually got implemented into the PTU. But yeah, so I don't think it's possibly Easter eggs. I think it's absolutely 100%. There'll be some Easter eggs coming in. It's just they're not going to be as announced this time, which is good. They're planning for roughly 325 planets plus moons, which I think we all knew, but that around that number. But kind of cool to hear it, I guess, right? Because like 100 star systems, multiple planets in each star system, multiple moons in there,
up
stations.
To 120.
Yeah.
120 is what they've got planned for at the moment.
Yeah. So pretty neat, I guess, right?
Yeah.
There will be extreme weather conditions. That was a question that somebody asked, and he pointed out the sandstorm in the CitizenCon demo.
Yes. But there's also, for like, even in the near future, there are supposed to be electric cloud lightning fog things going on Daymar as a weather.
Yeah, I mean they could even take
frost on Yellow.
Spoilers a little bit, maybe, is at one of the crashed locations in Yella in the current build. There's a
gravity drive.
Yeah, there's a broken gravity ball, like a destroyed one, and it's shooting out lightning. And if you get too close to it, you get shocked, and you can die. So they can just, I mean, it's already in the game probably, and they can just add a little bit of effects to it, and then there you go, lightning storms that can actually hit us.
Well, on Daymar there are supposed to be those fog lightning storms. It's supposed to like brighten up the fog, and they're supposed to be deadly. I'm
deadly
so
and probably beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to some of these. Like Daymar especially is like it looks like Mars, and it so appeals to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, for sure. And then here's something that is pretty cool, and we can chat about a bit maybe, is one of the goals of procedure tech is to allow them to lay out cities and city planets more quickly. And that's essential. If they can't get the procedural tech to help them make the cities much faster, we're in trouble. Right? It's going to be a long time.
No. So the thing is that if it was going to take them ages to do the cities, like to a high level of detail, what they do is just make less parts of them visitable, and just
they wouldn't do it full. They would have to cut a corner, I guess, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's the right phrase, but
no, cutting a corner is railroad it, or cutting a corner is pretty accurate to what they'd have to do.
And they don't want to cut any corners when making this game, but at some point they're going to have to, I would imagine. In some situation somewhere, they're going to do it.
There is nothing wrong with them wanting to have all these brilliant top class features, super high like quality. But some of it can be done after game's release.
Yeah.
Some of these millions of features, they can support this game for 10, 15 years, 20 years if they want.
Yeah.
And they can add more and more features and keep it up to the super high standards. That's great. It doesn't need to be all new at the start.
100%. 100%. Like Levski was built from various modular pieces, and then another 20 bespoke items to give it a unique character, or 20% bespoke items. So 80% of it was just modular pieces, probably built from that original ArcCorp set, right? A lot of shit has come off of that original ArcCorp set that they built from way back, I'm pretty sure, and it's been growing from there. Yeah,
they've got this rule for the sets that they build for 80-20, so 80%.
80-20 rule. It's
in
in everywhere in life.
And then 20% kind of high quality hero assets to give the area their unique character.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that was just for hero zones or if that's going to be for towns and modular and lots of
like little outposts and stuff, the modular outposts, but like a modular outpost won't necessarily be just one outpost. I feel like I'm sure there'll be a little cluster of them. Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. So they would have to make it like a cluster of outposts would likely be a small, very small village, I guess would be a good way to look at it in what we have in the world that we live in now, or the time that we live in, would be a village where a village would have its own unique character from another village, right? So they would have to do a little bit at least to make it look unique, whether it was, I don't know, some sort of a flag or anything to add to it to make it feel a little bit different.
Yeah, or to give you that character, what's this purpose of this outpost? Is it a research outpost? Is it owned by this faction? Is it owned whatever? So
yeah, but not kill the devs at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly. They've got a big undertaking with what they've done in game and what they want to do in game, and getting that like super high level fidelity, but also all this other stuff in is, they need all those tools. They need that long term thinking that they've had for many years now.
For sure.
It's all starting to come together.
Somebody asked about what is the tallest mountain you can have or something like that, and there are maximums in engine, but they can change them, and
tallest mountain as they wanted.
Yeah, so
as they wanted as well. So
perhaps one day we can make a climb to Mount Everest type of thing, where a dev can take the time and literally lay out one route to get to the top, and it's difficult and it's treacherous, but there's only one way to get to the top, and it's going to take you some time. I mean, there's some gameplay right there. I wonder how long that would take to put together, you know? I also asked about the moons. So this is not happy hour related, but this is kind of like additional stuff. I asked Luke Presley about the moons, about what's the gravity on the moons, and do they differ? And he said they are not 1G. I forgot what they were, but they're not 1G. They're less than 1G, and you can actually see it in one of the outpost updates, perhaps, where a guy leaves the outpost and he kind of floats for a second. A little bit, like he jumped, but he floated more than what we normally would in 1G. And then at the moment, they're all the same, but they could differ.
Yes.
So
in the future, there will be planets and things that have different gravity, and they can do that with their engine at the moment.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting and sort of related to what we were just talking about. Decorations for cockpits.
So this was a stretch goal, I think.
Have been spec'd out or were being talked about. I think how Brian mentioned it was like
spec'd out currently.
Yeah, like what he mentioned was he saw an image of something, like basically past his desk. I thought. I
think Disco's saying that he's currently speccing them out with.
That's what it was. And I mean, if anyone plays Elite Dangerous, that's something that they have, which is it's kind of cool. Each commander has their own little thing that they put on there, and there's You can make it say like words and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of cool. And again, I think customizability, any sort of customizability, for us, especially with our ships, for the moment, are big. You know, so because we have some forms of customizability with clothing, but we have zero with our ship other than weapons and shields and things like that. But no visual changes really, unless you bought a different variant, right? So it'd be kind of cool to just even have a little cockpit customizability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's neat. And then we just have like a little bit of additional stuff. But before we get to that, make sure you guys get your questions in. ! Question in chat. Click that link. Fill out the form, and we will answer some questions because that section's coming up in just a little bit. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about some stuff that ended coming out of the schedule report this week, and some things that have been added to the schedule report this week. The main thing that people were up in arms about was bind culling. I believe it was called being removed from the schedule report.
So, okay, network bind, unbind, or bind culling has
Yes.
been removed or pushed back from the schedule report to make way for their persistent data refactor. So they've got other stuff that they need to do before they get that in. Lots of other network optimizations are still in, and network bind culling should be in a later patch, probably 3.1. So it's not like, oh my god, the end of the world or anything at all, and it's not going to be like, oh, this feature is going to mean that we don't get any frames per second. There's still going to be a lot of improvements in 3.0.
Yes,
they'll still be working on bind culling, but they don't want to delay the patch for a long time.
And there was a big Reddit up post, and everybody was freaking out, saying, you know, we're not going to get many players in, or FPS is going to be terrible, all this stuff. And a dev came in and posted, and he wasn't super calming for me, but he was at the same time, where he basically was like, bind culling isn't as important as you guys are making it out to be. But then he also kind of mentioned that the 3.0 release won't really bring FPS improvements, at least not what we would hope to get. What will bring in the FPS improvements is the object container streaming, which is not scheduled for 3.0.
Well, so the object container streaming setup is for 3.0. Basically, they smashed down the PU, what we have at the moment, and they've entirely rebuilt it with placed object containers. It's just that the streaming system for that won't start to work until 3.1 and 3.2. And there's more and more functionality we'll get of that, and therefore more improvement and performance that we'll get from that from 3.1 and 3.2. So those are the performance patches. Look at 3.0 as lots of content, maybe not the best performance, but it will still be playable.
And
should be playable.
Possibly not more than 24 players in an instance.
So that's what they were working on currently with their current build, I believe.
Yeah.
And they will scale it up based on what they can do.
Yeah. And it sucks, but at the same time, as a first implementation of 3.0, I'm not super bummed out about that. I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't know how you feel if it bums you out or if it's. Obviously we want more players. I'd love to have 100 players as soon as 3.0 comes out, and just have it be somewhat madness in some places and quiet in others, and feel more alive, right? But as a first implementation of 3.0, I don't expect many frames, regardless of how many players are in, right? I mean, this is a monumental patch, so there's going to be some issues, right?
Well, there's going to be issues with all of the patches until they start hitting beta, and even with betas, there's still going to be problems. So for me, I want more players in, but
of course,
3.0, I'm okay with it starting as 24 and then them aspirationally adding them as even with incremental patches. But don't expect more than 24 realistically until 3.1.
Yeah, or later.
Start to be able to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly even later. I mean, but they need that object container streaming system in really first, and then they can go look at our scalable servers, look at what we can do with that, and then they can start working on the server meshing, which will then go. We can get 50 players in each server at the moment, and then we can layer them on top of each other, so they've got loads of instances happening, and you don't really notice you moving between them and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, what I'm happy about is that dev came in and was like, calm down. You guys don't know. You're not network engineers. You don't know shit, basically. So just stop freaking everybody out. You don't do this for a living. We do. We chose what we thought was more important because we know what we're doing. And calm down. It's going to be all right. The sky's not falling, And
is the sky falling?
I mean, this moon behind us is...
Oh, shit.
But is destroyed, but I don't think the sky's falling. It's not really moving too much, so I think we're okay. But yeah, it's I'm glad he came in there and said all that, and it put me at ease, but it also was like, eesh, how long until we get object container streaming working to where we're going to be getting a consistent 60 frames, 100+ players, all that kind of stuff? How far away is that,
I genuinely think 3.2 will have
perhaps
massive improvements. You've got to remember that they're not going to be fully optimizing. We're not going to be optimizing the game much at all until much closer to a release. And the drivers haven't been written for it from the NVIDIA or AMD side either, because they wouldn't write drivers for an alpha game. Well, they might in the future, I suppose, but it's all performance concerns. So it's a shame that we're not really getting any form of optimization.
Yeah,
because we want to play it, but
cool. You guys do you want to run through real quick the things that have been added, because apparently there's a lot of questions that we would need to get
through. Yeah, there's the vehicle customizer, which will allow you to customize your ship, I think, via your mobiGlas, and without finding the exact port location, so you don't have to walk up to the ports and touch it anymore. So that's useful. There's a ship selector, which means that you're basically replacing the old ship terminals around the persistent universe, allowing players to have a bit more freedom. Again, I think this is probably a mobiGlas app, but it might be a larger control room. We're going to get the heavy armor for Star Marine.
Okay.
And I believe that all armor will have proper functionality now, which is going to be good. And they are going to have a more in-depth insurance, where when a ship is destroyed, you're going to have to request a replacement version from your insurance provider. And this is one of the things that makes me genuinely think that they will be selling ships in 3.0.
I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think at the very least there'll be mission rewards for some of the missions.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that we can buy them. Come on, CIG, come on.
It changes everything. Like, now, you don't need a super amount of gameplay in if I think you have that progression.
Okay.
Right? It still it makes even a kind of tedious thing like the ICC missions now worth doing.
Yeah. Give that hook.
Yeah.
For repetition. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So
can we, before we move on to the questions?
Okay.
At the bottom there, just above the Eclipse picture, there's the 3-lateral speech with the time code.
Okay.
The Ash thing. Just click on that and we'll watch like a couple of minutes of that.
All right. I need more hand wavium. 1 sec.
Woo, look at my hand wavium.
Yeah. Go. Almost ready. I just didn't have this one up. My bad.
I was able to play PUBG with Jay Lee yesterday on Matachi stream, and it was a joy playing with that man. He's
nice.
Mad.
Yeah. Should we be playing this with sound?
Yes, you need the sound.
Need the sound. Okay.
And you'll see the face do it talk for a few seconds, and then you might want to skip ahead like a minute.
So what's really exciting
30 seconds, or just watch
is that now I can pick a region of his face, let's say eyes, and I can continue to change his appearance as he's delivering the performance.
So skipped ahead 30 seconds to see somebody else's face. Say the same thing. Here we go.
Here you can see
there we go.
Characters playing back the same animation.
Talking about.
Because this system is parameterized.
I have seen this.
Even though this animation doesn't sit well on a female character, the deformation.
So it's all different faces, but they. Like,
so
the guy on the right's facial expression, I mean, this one looks Mass Effect Andromeda over here, the top one. But the bottom right and, like, for example, the second from the left looks different, even though they're making similar facial expressions.
If there's a way they can edit the sound, pitch, and frequency of the voices to make it still sound reasonable, they could use that with this and have different NPCs for everything.
Yeah.
With the same, effectively the same mission. Like this, for me, this is just amazing. The quality of the faces when it's not even finished yet, it's not even like got their final polish.
Yeah.
And the ability to know where the muscles are for the different speeches, whether you're Asian or black or white or whatever, that's insane. That's just amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Because I mean, just in general, like regardless of race, we all have different like face shapes and head shapes, and our cheekbones are in wider or whatever. We all look so vastly different from each other. The fact that they're able to take each face and make them look so similar when they say and do different things is. I'm glad that they have an easy system. Right?
Not modeled after me. Leave me alone.
Oh, Twitch chat never fails. But yeah, let's go on to some questions here, and our first one here is from Cataphor, and he says, "Would you like to see underwater cities that is either sunken and covered in stuff, or fully functional, like in BioShock, Star Wars, etc.?"
Not for a while. There's too much other stuff I want to see, and that would be pretty low on my list. But eventually, maybe, cool.
Okay.
Like ruins and cool stuff like that, but not on my priority list.
Gotcha. The next one, and I agree. I agree.
Okay, cool. Win.
Sorry. Is from Choo Choo Lane. Choo Choo Lane. He says, "How future-proof is the underlying Star Citizen graphics architecture? Will the game always look the way it is, or will it have a built-in ability to one day upgrade or be even more indistinguishable from real-life images hitting our eyes?" I don't know. For me, I think Chris is always going to try and push the boundaries of the graphics in the game, right? Is based off the CryEngine architecture. Is it simple? I don't know. I'm not a graphics engineer, or I don't work in games. I don't know. But we do see how long it's taken them to switch from, I don't know, one damage state model to another, or, switching the ships to the current system. Seems like a little bit of time, right?
I mean, we don't really know how future-proof any game is.
Because we don't make games, yeah.
Yeah, so they have the ability to change it and upgrade it, certainly.
And they will. Almost certainly.
They will.
Yeah.
They'll keep up to date as they can. I don't know if they can integrate new Lumberyard changes, like Lumberyard version 1.9 beta came out. I'm not sure if they can pick and choose the updates for that, or if they're just automatically integrated, or whether they're integrated like tools, whether it's really simple or really hard for them, or they just go, well, no, our version of the Star Yard or Star Engine is so vastly different from the original branch now.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we don't know, but it will be kept up to date for a good period of time. I think supported for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah,
genuinely.
That's their goal. And I think that's the only part of the question we can really answer is will they keep up with the new trends or whatever, and keep it updated and looking good? I would think almost definitely. The next question is from Cataphor again. Would you like to see a new manufacturer that is similar in the regard of Drake, but that uses bad quality parts that would have a bigger tendency to break down and more wear and tear than other ships? And he says in quotations, like how China uses bad parts for cars and imitate Western car models, but would be dirt cheap to purchase.
I'd like to see that kind of scrap ship, but possibly not even with a manufacturer, just people building them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd go to an outlaw area or something like that, and they effectively made more scrap ships. They don't necessarily even need to have a proper manufacturer.
That's what I was going to say. The exact same thing. I don't think that we'll have a manufacturer for it, but I think people somewhere will be selling bootleg.
Yeah,
bootleg Aegis.
I'd love to see that.
You know,
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to see that in game.
Yeah,
I think it'd be hilarious.
Cateron asks, in 3.0, how many locations do you think will host a trading interface where you can buy and sell resources? Do you believe there will be any of these in the surface outposts on any of the moons?
Maybe. I think it's more likely that we will see stations above the moons where we can sell stuff too. On some of the moons, maybe we might see buy and sell resources. We might see more expanded base camps. Don't know. I mean, we'll see them on Delamar, definitely.
Yeah. At the Levski landing zone, right?
Yeah.
But I think what we know what we can guess that would come in would be potentially Levski, because that's still a stretch goal on the schedule report. There's a chance that comes in where there will be almost definitely a place to trade, or at the very least take missions and make money there. And then we already have Port Olisar, we already have Grimhex. Possibly those would be two locations where we would be trading back and forth from. Then we know that they've been working on what they were calling truck stops, right?
Getting them with 3.1 truck stops.
That's 3.1. Okay, so maybe that's the extent of it then.
I mean, I suspect we might still see admin offices in certain new points of interest.
So you think there will be additional stations then?
I think there will be additional stations.
And maybe, like I had mentioned this earlier, maybe there's some lore as to why Security Post Korea isn't functioning, right? If you go upstairs, there's a little data pad, and you can read what's wrong with it and why there's no security guards there.
That might be functional now.
That might be functional where you can bring weapons to, and that's a mission to take, right? Or something like that. You could sell weapons there for a good price, you know? Here's a wall of text questions, so I'll do my best to get through it. This is from Maravin. Maravrin. He says, how do you feel about expanding the current variety of ship weapon types? Maybe we don't see any other types currently because they are more exotic alien weapons. Board has talked about how CIG was trying to avoid beam weapons. We've actually discussed that with devs in the channel and the reasons why they don't like them during the podcast a couple times. Why would that be? There are many ways to balance such weapons. We've been through this before. I think the reason beam weapons aren't in is because they would have to be hit scan.
Hit scan.
And they do not want hit scan weapons in the game, I think because they're too OP, right? Was basically... Well, yeah, I don't think Matt's here today.
Beam weapons either. I just don't like them, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we've gotten like a super solid answer to it.
So there are going to be some form of beam weapons, at least by name, but not by fire a beam straight out that instantly hits that distance.
Like basically my argument was last week's podcast, I think it was why aren't the tachyon cannons like beams? They could be, or they're essentially hit scan. Why don't you have beams then if you essentially have a hit scan weapon? And he's like, they're not quite hit scan. They're really fast, but they're not hit scan. Like,
so there are going to be some form of beam weapons, at least by name. So we've got the Preacher armaments plasma beam modular sets, size 1 to 6 coming in, looks like 3.2. And there was another weapon which is definitely beam.
Matt Sherman's here, so here we go. He can actually answer this gentleman's question. Hit scan is a cop-out mechanic for hit resolution. And the tachyon weapons are not hit scan, which I did mention that you said that they are. I said, well, they're essentially hit scan, and you said they are not. They're just very, very fast.
There's also a Hurston Dynamics electron beam weapon for ships as well.
Yeah.
So they might not be beam in the same way that we were discussing a minute ago. There are different types of beams that they could do that wouldn't be fire and hit scan.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? Instantly the maximum length. And that's the kind of beams that they want to avoid.
Yeah. So there you go. We had a Matt Sherman, a designer out of the LA studio, come in and answer that one for us. Matt. Thank goodness. Thank you, Matt, because I didn't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm glad you were here, because sometimes I take things one way or whatever. He said, I would like to see an energy version of a missile that shoots a tracking ball of plasma that decreases its damage with flight time, or a special Tavaran shield that, when discharged, can be used offensively as a ram or defensively against incoming missiles. I think the more variety of weapon types opens up a lot of potential for cool tactics and fun gameplay. How do you guys feel about it? Thanks for all your input, and sorry for a long question. I'll quickly go with my point of that. All your ideas are cool. Sure, they're neat. Maybe they'll put them in. But is now the right time to put them in? Probably not. I think getting the very groundworks of the game and essential things of how they work are probably fine. I love the idea of the shielded ramming, like in Dreadnought. Also, I believe there's not a shield that you blow up, but you can kind of do like an EMP pulse with your ship, but it's not. It does damage as well with something. But yeah, what do you think, Bored? Was there, how do you feel about his kind of sort of wacky ideas for some weapons?
Some of them are great ideas.
Yeah.
There's loads of great ideas that they can add into the game afterwards. Let's leave them
afterwards.
After the game's released.
Yeah, not now, but the ideas aren't
the issue
aren't bad
with
at all.
The ones that he's mentioned basically require new mechanics to work.
Yeah.
Totally new ways of doing stuff, which would take extra time, and they've already spent extra time getting procedural planets in. I mean, rightly so, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's take it long. I want to play the game now.
Yeah. This next question is from Chris. We all know about Star Kitten, and about how polarizing it is for the community. My question is, how would you introduce her? I would have given it a more lore aspect to it. For example, Teddy the Tavaran, Bart the Banu, Vicky the Vandal, Saul the Salamander from Soul, etc. Go ahead, Bored. What do you think?
I mean, they could have, if they were going to introduce that thing, they should have done it in a more comical way. It would be like, oh, the Star Kitten tells you how to prevent from getting attacked by Vandal kids. Duck and cover. Some stupid shit like that. Like, I don't know. Do it in a kind of genuine, derpy comedy way or whatever. I don't understand why it's polarizing to people now either. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care about it enough. Like, they could have done it in a funny way. They did it in quite a forced way. I think it's a bit silly. I actually quite like the t-shirt now. Looked at that Star Kitten t-shirt and went, it's actually quite a cool t-shirt.
Yeah. And Matt actually responded to the last question about the weapon ideas. And he says kind of what they do at the office is step one, to all new ideas from the design perspective, which is the perspective that he takes, is shoot the idea full of as many holes as possible. Keep shooting and shoot until it's smoldering and on fire. Then let the person who came up with the idea try and patch these holes. So
cool. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, and that's how they go about it. So maybe some of your ideas have been out there, and maybe there's some design holes in them, but they won't implement them until they're sure that they'll work really well. Like, CS missiles that just hit you no matter what, and you can't avoid. Which you can actually avoid now, but for a while they didn't work. They're actually able to be avoided, which I was so excited about playing the other day. But forever I was like, take those fucking missiles out of the game, please. C Dizzle starts out with an opinion. Says ATVs aren't fun, but do you think that's what we should be expecting for the weeks, months to come due to Gamescom and CitizenCon?
Oh, I disagree. I just think
I think they can be fun.
Boring.
Yeah, I think the last one was a little bit technical. Here, we didn't even mention this part of ATV, where they talked about the network stuff and what they do at the Austin studio. That, I think, interests a wide audience of Star Citizen backers. I think if you are a network guy or someone that's interested in that kind of thing, that is like I know some people that's what they do. They thought that was one of the coolest segments they've seen all year. Right? It's just not for everybody.
I think that ATVs in recent history have been superb compared to what they used to be, and some of them are absolutely fantastic. I don't look forward to the Austin studio updates as much as I do to like the UK studio update and the Frankfurt studio updates. The LA studio update is fine. It's like average, and the other two are amazing. And then the Austin is normally a bit boring because it's almost always about shopping kiosks and
for the last like year and a half.
Yeah, and then something about networks
and animation. Always animation. There's always a guy walking and picking something up.
Yeah. And it's just not as interesting as some of the other studio stuff because they're working on so much more things, stuff, and so I disagree with you that ATVs aren't fun. I think a lot of them are. I think occasionally they have a crappy one. I think occasionally they have a superb one. And last one wasn't crappy; it was just boring because of the pacing. They needed to pace it better. They needed to not have that network section directly after the Spectrum section. So I was like,
which is just like,
please compress data. I can't listen to this anymore. Sort of thing. Which is probably what people are thinking when they listen to our podcast.
What'd you say? I just woke up from your
you.
boring pacing.
Oh shit!
Magnetron GW2 says, "What do you guys expect at Gamescom and CitizenCon for Star Citizen?"
Disappointment? No. So I'm just going by what they gave us in 2016. Gamescom is typically amazing.
Yes, it's every year has been their best. For the most part.
Yeah, like we'll get to see the future of a lot of the gameplay. We'll get to see what we're getting in the near future. So I suspect we will see gameplay of 3.1 and 3.2. It's possible we could get to see vertical slice, but that sort of stuff I would expect to see at CitizenCon rather than Gamescom. I don't know.
I sort of disagree. I don't think we're gonna have 3.0 released until around that time, maybe slightly before or slightly after. So
every time
I think we might see the God, it's really hard. We're in May. We got to get through half of May, basically. June, July, August. It's basically 3 months from now, right? It really comes down to what they show on some of these ATVs where you might be able to tell what they do. For example, like, if they don't show us the mission, like the mission giver stuff, like the other mission giver, we might see that. We might see, if the game's not released, if 3.0 isn't released, that might be what we see.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that other mission giver is going to be Thingamajig or Twin.
Yes, did we see Orwin's face in an image recently?
Yeah, so Sandy posted it on her Twitter.
Yes.
Look who's been put into the game. It was the skinning the face of Orwin.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, it's so hard to tell right now because we were supposed to get what we saw at CitizenCon and Gamescom, or we're supposed to have it. So it's hard to tell what they have up their sleeve next. It's hard to, like, what if we see, I don't know, the update to what a jump point looks like. What jumping between system to system looks like. That's like sort of legitly something that we might see. Something that's far in the future, but something that they're probably going to start thinking about in the somewhat near future, in the next 6 to months to 2 years or whatever, right?
It's possible that they will show us some form of exploration.
Yeah, I think what we'll see, and that's what Kamikaze was just saying in chat, I want to see gameplay mechanics. And I think that's going to be, aside from Squadron 42, I think that's going to be a lot of the theme of this coming year, I hope, is some Squadron 42, or some Squadron 42 and just legit gameplay. This is what mining looks like. Maybe we see that. That's possibility. This is what a bounty hunting mission looks like, right?
Maybe. I mean, I'm with you that I want to see.
This is what search and rescue looks like.
New gameplay mechanics all the way.
Yeah, for real. So the next question is from C Dizzle, and he says, with trading and other jobs / sources of income coming to the game in 3.0 and beyond, do you see this being the start of us keeping money, or still losing it every patch?
Losing it every patch.
Every patch. I don't think you're gonna see persistent money between patches until we go to like beta, where okay, we understand how the money system works. Most of the exploits are out, and I'm sure you guys are gonna find other ones, but you know what? We're not gonna patch it until beta's done, and that's where we're gonna really clean up all the exploits for that, and then. And yeah, maybe even beta will have some wipes, but I think there will be less frequent wipes, right? And then from there, they release the game, and there will be no wipes again. And who knows, there may even be wipes after the release of the game if something like major happens, right? Like, games have rolled back their servers before, MMOs and stuff like that. It's happened. It's always a possibility still. And somebody asked a question in chat, and I'll answer this real quickly since it's related to the question. Citizen Tarabu asks, does anyone know if Rec will ever get wiped? No, but once you use it, you have 7 days, obviously, right? And I know he knows that. The next question, did you respond to the jobs and sources of income and money? I think you did, right?
Yeah, I said it immediately. So it'll get wiped. Boom. Done.
Yeah, cool.
Next. Bam!
That's why I wasn't sure, because you were just German efficient. German efficiency with you over there. Having both played PUBG for an extended amount of time, how would you even treat third person hide behind the wall while peeking sort of combat in Star Citizen? Kisses, Kappa Pride. This is from Kaz.
I wouldn't want third person combat in Star Citizen properly.
Me neither. And
taken out of the persistent universe entirely.
Okay, it cannot be taken out of the persistent universe entirely. It can't, because look at Reddit front page images with the camera controls.
The only way I'd allow it in my head, this is me personally, would be if you didn't have any form of weapons out.
Yes.
Go into third person mode.
100%.
You can't even have a weapon drawn.
But that can be exploited too. Just don't draw your weapon, peek, then pull it out.
Yeah, but as soon as you pull it out, you're not peeking anymore.
But you found where your enemy is without your weapon, and then you
that's true.
Pull your weapon out, then kill them. So
if you can't, all I'm saying is if you can't get rid of it entirely, there are things that you can do to mitigate it.
Yeah, and like one of the things they said is that if you were involved in combat, you were not allowed to go into third person. That was a long time ago when there was concerns about it and that they wanted this game to be first person. They said, well, you have a third person mode. What if people did this? And that was kind of Chris's initial response to it, but I don't know if there's ever been a official response of how they're going to handle it yet.
I'd also, if you're in third person, have a little drone flying above you that makes you quite visible.
Okay.
Because
that's your third person camera. So that's a great idea, actually. A little drone flies off your shoulder, and it's got a red flashing blinking light. It's like, okay, I know somebody's peeking at me from that area.
Yeah.
So you can see them, but they can also at least see you. That's a fucking fantastic idea, actually. And to be honest, I can't think of a better one. And then look, someone in chat, VectorBase says, love it. Can we shoot the drone? Sure. And then you lose your first person camera. Gets wrecked. Awesome. I love that idea. Great job, Bored. You're a genius. Design lead out of the UK studio coming up. Citizen Shenanigans asks, the tweet of the Avenger at Yella showed the sun in a different position than we have in the PU at the moment. Will planetary orbit be part of 3.0? While you're answering that, I will actually get that tweet up right now.
So, in the schedule report, it suggests that at least the setup and the ability to have rotational and orbiting planets and planetoids and moons will be there. I actually got an answer to that question a couple of yesterday, in fact, where I asked planetary rotation and orbit supported in 3.0, but will they be functional? And I was told I'm not entirely working on planets, so I may be off. I don't believe we're supporting functional rotation orbits for 3.0, but they might be wrong because it doesn't work directly with planets. But I suspect it as an aspirational thing for them to be functional. I'm hoping that we have them in 3.0. They might be. They'll definitely be able to support them, or at least the functionality might be tested there. We don't know. I don't know.
Have you seen Yella in this? Have you seen this? Like, have you really looked at this?
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's got a polar ice cap. So the parts of Yella that we've seen that were very icy, and then there were parts of Yella that we've seen that weren't, and we're looking right at them. So exciting. So cool. And you can sort of see the expanded Yella asteroid field as well.
The scale of that will be significantly larger.
Yes. So, I mean, we're going to fly from here to there in 3.0. How exciting is that?
It's pretty
Jeremiah
exciting.
Lee said that was just a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, he did.
Troll level over 9,000.
He's over fashion over functionality, as I've seen when playing games with him.
19-4, buddy. That's all I gotta say to you. 19-4. All right. So the next question is from Aladdin the Gamer, and he says, Miles Eckert, the mission giver. When we see him first time, he turns out to cheat us. That would make him untrustworthy. Will you trust him, or always think that he will cheat you sooner or later, just like in the presentation first time?
Now, there is supposed to be a tree and conversational logic and stuff with him, based on your rep with him, based on your status and stuff. So that might be only one of the routes that he betrays you in.
Now, yes. I also think that we're going to see a completely different mission than the one that you saw at Gamescom.
Yeah, that's very likely.
Now, I also want to roll back here to the third-person camera question. So Matt Sherman is poking some holes in our ideas, because that's what he does. He says,
What?
Yep. So just some of those basic holes that will get shot into that camera drone. Does it force the drone to position in actual relative position of the camera orientation? How detailed of a drone is it? Can it be fixed up after being shot? How much inventory space do you give up to bring that with you? Does that drone need to be customizable? Does that light have to be a blinking red light versus, say, a strobing green pulse? So that's cool. Like right into the designer's mind.
Possibly even infinite ones that you just if they get shot, you can pull out another one.
But that's not realistic. I think
it's not. Neither are third-person cameras.
I think if you want to carry a third-person camera, you have to lose inventory space.
Okay.
And if you want to be a little camping dick, you have to lose a couple of maybe a sidearm or some grenades. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it should be forced into the relative position, because would you guys do that any other way? You guys pretty much go for realism, right? Can it be fixed after being shot? Sure, why not? You know? I think it's pretty cool. Why does it have to be have to have a light on it? It doesn't have to, but it seems like a good idea to make it as is to make it as obvious where you are using the camera versus where you're looking and being able to see peeking somebody that can't actually see you. I think you need to make it really obvious, right? So I don't know. I thought it was a really good idea. I don't think there were too many holes plugged in. I think there were just how would you do this? And I don't think any of them seem unreasonable. So when you guys see that in here, this bald-headed beauty came up with that idea. All right. I think we kind of answered the Miles Eckert question. I think that's the hole in the thing is, I think automatically we wouldn't trust him, which is why I think the mission will be slightly different than what we saw at the Gamescom demo. Also, you can really kind of tell that mission wasn't a real mission, right? The pirates that they came up to were other people that were playing in the same server as them. So it wasn't really a mission. It was a show of what could happen on a planet, you know?
I mean, yeah, it was It was faked effectively.
It was fake. I mean, there's no other way to say it other than it was faked. You know?
It was a representation.
And Meyer Test says, but the pirates will be other people. Possibly.
They may be.
Yeah, we had a discussion about that of we currently have systems in the game that should bring pirates and lawful people together, and it doesn't necessarily do. But we were saying if the incentive is enough, then yeah. CIG Sherman goes back to the drone again. He says, if the drone is just on follow, then it wouldn't reposition itself. So what good is a third-person locked angle chase camera? Well, if you move your mouse, then you're moving the drone, right? When you're in third person, you're controlling the drone. So therefore, it moves.
No.
Right?
When you're in third person, the drone is staying relative to you, but you're not moving the drone. You're still moving your character. Yeah? Do you understand what I mean?
Not really.
You wouldn't be moving the drone. It's not a scouting device. It's literally just you're having the drone relay what it's seeing to your HUD. Effectively, how I'd get around.
Well, when I say moving the drone, I don't mean moving the drone on the X and Y axis, just the Z axis, and the X and Y axis, but not moving, just moving degrees and angles, right? So just like you do with your mouse when you're in third person, when you're.
So you think it should have more functionality? Like you should be able to move it.
All I'm saying is the drone is your third person camera. So when you're like, let's give PUBG, like let's use PUBG as an example.
Yeah.
Where I prone in a building, but I can pull my mouse towards me and look below me through a window. That is my drone going like this and looking down. So that's the movement and rotation that I'm talking about. Not I'm going to move my drone above the guy and look right at him and say, oh, he has this weapon, that weapon, and some grenades. I mean, just it acts as the eyes that I'm using in my third-person camera. And how it gets relayed into my... I guess maybe you can use like a relay where it creates an image on your helmet and you're looking at him or whatever. But I think it's a great idea that it can be shot down and it makes you visible when in third person, and it takes the advantage of being in third person away and nobody know that you're in there. Like Drog Vokun says, I don't really want third person in Star Citizen at all. I think most of us agree with you, but it kind of has to be there for other reasons. For roleplay, for camera controls, for machinima, for all the things that people want to do. Maybe they can take it out. Maybe they can only have it in custom servers or whatever if they do that, right?
I think it's a nice way around. If people desperately want to play in third person, have the drone system or whatever, or have something that makes you visible.
Yeah, and Matauchi mentions I thought third person was being built to prevent that type, or Star Citizen was being built to prevent that type of third person gameplay. Mm-hmm. I think that's the discussion that we're having, is how to prevent it, because of the camera controls and because of all the cool things that they're doing, there's no way that they're going to take third person out. So we were, I don't know if Matauchi was here the whole time, but we were discussing how do you have third person in and still play an FPS, basically, and not have it super control, like super OP. And the answer that Board had was that a drone would come out of you and basically spot your location, just like you're spotting someone else's location. So it's not third person gameplay. It's people are going to use it. So how do we keep the advantages equal or disadvantages equal? However way you look at it, right? And Matt Sherman says, mind you, I'm not actively trying to be a proponent of third-person gameplay, just more the notions of the kinds of complications that will pop up from any of these ideas. Yeah. So personally, third-person view is a burden on the environment design more than anything. Okay. Cool. I just think it's going to end up being in there, so we got to come up with ideas to make it not so OP, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean...
We'll move on from that. I think we've beat it down pretty heavily at this point. And who knows, maybe we'll see something like that in the future and it'll be pretty cool. And you guys had a factor on it. Who knows? Citizen Shenanigans. Was the tractor beam on the schedule report? No? I don't remember seeing
I didn't
it.
see it on there.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it on there. While you take a peek, the next question is Magnetron is from Magnetron GW2, and he said, "Will 3.0 include the new airlock mechanics?"
So we're going to get new airlock mechanics, but we're not going to get the full room system for a while. 3.0 will have a more advanced version of airlocks, and so 3.0 is going to have doors and airlocks.
The room system, yeah.
No, the room system isn't coming until 3.1.
Gotcha.
3.1 for the room system, 3.0 for smarter airlocks.
So the start of the room system, basically.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
not the room system, but remember that ATV update where what you mean by smarter airlocks is when an airlock opens, it decompresses, and like that whole thing that they showed us a while back.
So, okay, in 3.0, we're going to get airlocks and doors, and the airlocks will know if they're supposed to be open or closed based on the outside. So it will go, this area is dangerous, close the door or open the door.
Yeah.
But we won't have decompressions. In 3.1, we should have airlocks that are item 2.0 compliant, and we should have some of, if not all of, the first iteration of the room system, which will have decompressions and be able to have environmental effects and be able to work out whether or not you're starving of oxygen because you've got your helmet off.
Yeah. Okay. Another pretty quick one from Lyrium. Do you think we'll ever get capital-sized Drake ships?
One day, almost certainly.
I feel like maybe not, because they're kind of budget, right?
I mean, I think eventually they'll do.
I guess there could be a budget version of a really big ship.
Oh, maybe like I don't know. Maybe it is because their budget. I
don't know either. The Eclipse Twitter pic, this is from Citizen Shenanigans, had a reticle of a security cam faint. Do you think they will have the pick-in-pick thing working yet? Like picture-in-picture in-game?
They're doing a mixture of picture-in-picture and Redacted texture now. They're doing lots of different things. When does he want it ready for? What's going on?
3.0, it sounds?
I think we're getting some of the proper rendered texture on HUDs and like the creation of those scenes in 3.1 or 3.2. I think it got pushed back for some reason. So not in 3.0.
I mean, the picture-in-picture thing in your ship might be in when you land, because that was in the Gamescom demo.
Yeah.
And that wasn't faked, you know?
Oh, no, we might get that. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, but I don't think we have the answer for it. Oh, yeah. I don't know. We'll move on to the next one from Sid Vicious. Remember hearing that there were Easter eggs not found in 2.6. Is that true? If so, were they ever found? They wouldn't be Easter eggs then. Yeah, we don't know. I do believe that that's true, though, that there are some other Easter eggs that they don't know if anybody's found them or not. The next one is from Citizen Shenanigans. Thank you for all the questions. What does the Hero Quest Giver mean?
So hero quest givers are normally terms given to a quest giver that you would meet that would have a high level of fidelity, but also give you like these theme park ride missions. So occasionally they would give you a mission that is more handcrafted, but is like a really like, oh my god, that was a mission to remember experience.
Yeah,
that's the way I interpret it anyway.
Here I was gonna skip this one because it was I don't know if it's a real way. The Phoenix brochure states an upper and lower turret. The ship matrix also always shown an upper and lower turret. Disco Lando interviewed Chris Smith about this Constellation revamp and asked him about the lower turret. Chris replied that it wasn't in what he was given. My question is, do you think we'll see a lower turret, or do you think they'll drop it on us without? I don't know.
Lower turret?
Yeah, so the Andromeda has a top turret and a bottom turret. Will the Phoenix have a top turret and a bottom turret?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I was gonna skip it, but he popped in chat and was like, "Did they ask my question?" So I knew the answer was going to be I don't know. It really comes down to when they actually work on it. They'll show it to us, and then we'll know. They'll show us the progress of it a little bit. I don't have the answer for that. The only one who can maybe answer that is Matt Sherman, if he's working on that at all right now and is comfortable talking about it. But I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on him, and I don't think he would answer that kind of question anyway at the time being. When they're working on it and they're ready to show us, that's when we'll know. The next one is from Covenant Garden Martin, and he said, if Saurus is taking a break for the next week, will you sub in Nubifier or Matauchi or another guest to host him? I think that'd be fun. Absolutely. The reason that it's just me and Bored this week is because Saurus kind of decided to take a break last night. So I think that's when he came to the realization that he was like, you know what? I need a break for right now. So it was a little too short notice to ask any of those guys because every one of us, except for Bored and Saurus, have jobs other than content creation as well. Well, I mean,
I'm glad you finished that sentence off. Have jobs.
Yeah, I mean, because you guys are successful, so at doing what you're doing, and we're working our way towards that success, right? Oh, and Matauchi as well. Matauchi's been doing it for a living for a while. So, you know what? I probably could have asked Matauchi. I always think because you have kids, you have a job. I don't know why. Other than streaming. Yeah. So I could have definitely asked Matauchi, and I probably will for next week. Sorry, Matauchi. So, hey, we'll ask you right now, Matauchi, do you want to be on the podcast next week? Yeah, so absolutely. And to be honest, we've had Noob on quite a bit, so I was going to ask Matauchi next anyway. But yeah, to answer that question, yes. Guns and Glue with the next one. And we'll go for a couple more because we've been going pretty far over this time. Do you think there will be different walking animations for different gravity levels? When on the moon, Spaceman would bound across the surface since it was the most effective way to travel across the moon's surface. And it is hard to walk like on Earth in less than 1G.
Yes, I do think there will be, because I think that we'll eventually be boarding like Vandal ships. They have lower gravity on their ships. I think they've talked about having different gravity on moons and planets. I do think there will be different movements for them. So
yeah. If you look at the, I always like to give examples of where your question could have been answered already. If you go back and look at the video of the Vandal update with the guys speaking Vandal at Imaginarium, they're actually strung up, and they have lower gravity Vandal ships have lower gravity than human ships, right? So he's actually strung up and kind of bouncing around the ship, right? And they're capturing that mocap there. So if they have it for Vandal, I would imagine that they would probably have mocap footage for humans as well in different gravity. Perhaps. But, you know, who knows? The next question is from Shigu, and it's a two-parter. It says, which moon is the first you will travel to once 3.0 hits and why? And favorite, Dragonfly or Ursa rover?
Oh.
And say yours again, because I might have been talking over you when you said it.
Daymar, because it looks like Mars and it's cool. And I don't know. I like both of them. Probably the Dragonfly for more visibility. Because I'm going to look at the planet and go...
Yeah, mine's definitely Dragonfly because it's unique. More unique than a car, right? We've seen those before.
Yeah.
And I would go to Yella. I like the look of the icy landscape. And now I'm more excited to get to like the point where the moon meets the polar ice cap and kind of walk across that change. I think will be really, really interesting. Two more questions. This one's directed at me, so we'll do two more to all of us. So this one and one more. This is to me. Have the devs made any mention of buying an Ursa rover independently from the constellation Aquila? Yeah. And they sold it separately already.
Yep.
So, yes, they have. And I would imagine when it becomes online, it will be sold separately again as well. Do you remember the price of it? I don't remember it off the top of my head. 50?
It was $50.
Yeah, I think it was 50.
Yeah, I think it was.
Next question. The Prisoner. What would what would you think about a small ground vehicle, for example, a motorcycle / dirt bike that could fit an Avenger / Reliant? The Dragonfly is way too big.
Well, let's see what the Nox is like.
Yeah, before we do that. But I don't know. I think that any ship that goes into another ship should go into a larger ship than something like the Avenger.
I kind of like the idea of being pretty much having a bicycle that you can rack mount in a ship. That gives you a little bit of extra speed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
At the same time you said bicycle, Jay Lee said space bicycle. CIG, make it happen.
Make it happen, man. My idea.
I mean, you're CIG. Your name literally has _CIG. Make it happen, Jay Lee. Like, what the hell?
Make it happen, Jay Lee. Do a concept now.
Not every smaller ship is intended to be able to carry some other usable vehicle, and I doubt those Avenger / Reliant would be one of those.
I want a Russian doll of just thousands.
What is your obsession with Russian bears and dolls?
What?
That's twice now.
Oh my god.
Twice. He's got a Russian fetish. Sid Vicious, this is our final question for the day. Are you all going to have a party when the official Star Kitten physical merchandise hits the RSI website?
Okay,
fuck that. We can't ask that fucking question. Oh, actually, we only have a couple more, so we'll power right through them.
Yeah. Power.
What do you think of yesterday's? This is from M. Tonetti says, what do you think of yesterday's post lore in which Imperator Costigan mentions the rumored Project Eclipse and Operation Deadbolt, which will be retired and details released through the Historical Truth Act?
I haven't actually read that lore post. Which
I haven't actually either, but based on his question, it sounds like Project Eclipse was like a military thing, and then it's been decommissioned, and now they're probably going to sell those ships to consumers, like regular people. That's what I get from this question. And all the information and details get released through the Historical Truth Act, and maybe the details on the ship get picked up from by Origin, and then they make a ship based off of it. I don't know, but I didn't read the lore post, and neither did Bored, so we will though.
No, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Bored, you're supposed to know everything.
It's hard to keep up with everything.
Yes, it's almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
All right, final 4 questions from this one from Citizen Shenanigans. What do they call the thing about reducing the amount of data transmitted to and from client / servers, and when is that scheduled for?
So that's a mixture of bind culling,
serialization, or whatever.
Serialized variables. What else is it? 1 second, let me bring it up.
Oh, and Matt Sherman just mentions there is some ongoing work for ship-to-ship docking going on right now.
Oh, cool.
But can't get into any specifics for how it will all function. What a tease, right?
He's such a tease, isn't he?
Such a tease.
That's why they call him Tease Sherman.
Yeah.
While
While you're looking it up, I'll ask the next question.
So we're going to have the new message queue, which is going to reduce bandwidth and overhead, physics serialization, but the persistent data refactor as well, which is essential for all of those services to kind of work better. And a big one as well is the network bind and unbind. But what's going to also reduce bandwidth significantly will be the object container streaming working properly in conjunction with all the different culling systems. So think 3.2 for significantly better improvement, probably, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's as of this schedule right now. If anybody's watching this video way later and things have changed, it could be 3.3, it could be earlier. All sorts of things could happen.
Things do change.
Yes, they do. When do you expect to see the start? This is from Full Octane, excuse me. When do you expect to see the Star Citizen community come out of the slump that it's currently in? 3.0, man. Everybody's just waiting for something new.
Slump? Talk for your fucking self, mate. Do you represent the whole community, do you? Urgh!
I mean, I think for the most part, the game is in a slump. Your YouTube channel might be growing, but that's only because you're not a fucking animal channel anymore. So that's literally probably the reason, right? You probably would have been getting the amount of views that you have now.
I'm not in a slump with Star Citizen. I'm like learning stuff still. I'm still looking at lore. I'm still.
But do you play the game?
Yeah, recently. Not a huge amount, like
because it's in a slump.
About as much as I normally did, though. Like,
Yeah.
maybe a little less.
I mean, what he's really asking is, like, when does the game start to become a game? It's around 3.0 and 3.1, 3.2 is when it starts becoming tangible gameplay that you can play for
That hopefully
10, 20, 30 hours that hopefully hooks you, you know? That's when it gets out of the slump. There's a slump, you know, there's definitely a slump on Twitch for Star Citizen. I mean, you regularly go there and see less than 100 viewers watching the entire game as a whole. And that's just because there hasn't been a significant increase in tangible gameplay in some time, but when it comes, it'll be good.
Yep. Patches do bring the gameplay, hopefully.
Yeah.
3.0 should be good.
Yeah. No big deal. It's coming soon. I'm excited for it. The next second to last question is from Neo Onyx, and he says, do you think the Squadron 42 vertical slice could end up being a prequel mission in the same vein as the old tutorial mission from back in the day? I absolutely, I think it is not going to be. I think it's going to be a vertical slice, but that's not what a vertical slice means. A vertical slice means you literally take a piece of the game out, right? But I feel like it might be a mission that's not
represent all of the game mechanics coming together, so that you can show off everything in the game in a small section,
but not necessarily a piece of the pie that is pulled up.
Technically doesn't have to be part. It doesn't have to be a mission that exists in game.
And that's what I think. And I think that's the question he's asking. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a fully functioning mission that is not in Squadron 42. I think it's going to be a demo. Like back in the day when you opened PlayStation Magazine and got a demo for Gran Turismo or something like that.
I'd like to see a demo for Star Citizen so people could test it, see if they liked it. And I like
for Squadron 42.
Yeah,
it makes more sense for Squadron 42, right? So they release the demo of it. They show us the vertical slice, and then it becomes the demo that you can play after that. And maybe that's something that happens at CitizenCon. Maybe that's something they're pushing for, right?
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Then the last question is from Red Baron. And says, how many people, guess / speculate, will be able to join in one instance / in space in 3.0? How much persistence will there be? For example, if you land on a planet and you log out and log back in, will your ship be there? Interesting. I think we kind of speculated. I think we both think that there'll probably be 24, maybe slightly more in there.
Yeah, it's going to be literally however many the servers can take at that particular juncture. So at least 24.
Yeah.
Possibly. Well, we don't actually know. That for me, it's become an entirely new game when they smash down the persistent universe.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah.
Will your ship be there? They have talked about different levels of persistence and importance of objects. I suspect your ship will stay there for a while when you log back in, but I'm not sure if you're going to be able to log back into the same server that you logged out of.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So we're not going to have the deeper persistence until 3.1 and 3.2, and then still, even after then, for a few patches time, we're going to get more and more persistence, but it's still not going to be you log off, you log back on exactly where you were, I don't think.
I think it'll be pretty similar to what we have now as far as persistence goes with that kind of stuff.
I think there might be more update points, though, where it goes...
I think our ships will remain damaged. Perhaps keep the damage states.
I like the idea of them staying where you left them for at least a good period of time.
God, the FPS, though.
The FPS.
I think you would need some more additional network improvements to what would be in 3.0 in order to get that to work, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work for 3.0 yet. I need to, when we have the Vicati test, we'll know a bit more, but obviously won't be able to share it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to communicate with eyebrows. Yes, it's a.
I can't move my eyebrow. This is as much as I can move them, and I can't move one eyebrow at a time. I start making a really weird face.
Oh wow, it's like you've got a disability.
I have many disabilities, mostly related to playing video games. Yeah. I was so excited when I did a 33 or 34 second lap in an M50, and I got up and was super hyped, and the first thing I said is, not bad at every game. I was so pumped. Because everybody just types lol bad at every game in my chat every time I play games. It's not fun. Not fun to be a streamer on Twitch sometimes. But we've come to the end of the podcast, and I do want to apologize for some of the technical difficulties. And for those of you guys that have just popped in and asked where Saurus was, he's taking a little break from streaming in the podcast for a little while. I did it pretty recently. We all need a break every now and then. And Saurus usually handles the technical part of the podcast. He's the one that actually streams it. He's the one switching the scenes. So I just got the scenes basically a few hours before the podcast, threw them together, and I was doing my best to keep it all together. So Board's camera will be better quality, should be better quality next week, and just a few fewer hiccups next week if Saurus isn't here. So we're hoping he is here though and is feeling better and playing with us and hanging out. So let's hope that it doesn't become an issue. But yeah, tweet at Saurus, send him some love. You know, say some nice things to him. Send him a PM on Twitch, or whatever. Make him love streaming again or whatever. I don't know. You know. But Jay Lee asked a question before we go. How beautiful is Jeremiah from a scale of 4 to 19?
Which
69.
What's the highest?
19.
Oh shit. 42, mate. Yeah.
42?
Jaylee. You'll
42?
always be the most fashionable in PUBG.
Yeah.
By far. And pretty good at dancing as well. Pretty good at dancing.
But all right, before we go, Board, where can the guys find you? Where can everybody find you? What you up to? What you doing this week? Anything special?
So nothing particularly special, I don't think, other than the standard YouTube videos going through different subjects. I'm being a bit more interactive with my channel, my viewers now, that I can kind of pick what I do next video-wise. I'm going to start to do that and get more and more in depth with it. But other than that, not really much. People can find me on the BoredGamerUK, on the YouTubes, on the Twitches, on the social medias. They should definitely check out that giveaway that we're doing, that redacted wide giveaway, which I will post again.
Zeus is already on it.
In the video.
Zeus, he's all over you, bud.
He's all over it, man. He's all over me. Oh. I'll be playing a bit of PUBG, maybe a bit of Prey. I'll be streaming where I can.
Have you played Prey yet?
Stream. Yeah, I played it as it was released. It's okay. It's very. I think it's in the CryEngine actually. It looks like it's in the CryEngine.
It is in CryEngine.
It's a bit like BioShock. I enjoy original BioShock more, but I haven't really got that far into Prey yet. I like the idea of becoming a toaster, so I'm holding out for that. It's going to be exciting. What about you, Tarek? What are you up to?
Not much. I'm kind of doing similar. Just going to be playing some PUBG, some Prey, some Star Citizen. I love the Star Citizen streams. I think the highlight of my week is every Friday when we watch. We basically now every Friday watch all of the week's videos together from Star Citizen, and look at the forums and just kind of chat about Star Citizen for a while. And they're by far my favorite streams of the week, and I look forward to those every week. It's basically doing a second podcast almost each week, which is I look forward to this. This is one of my favorite things every week, So doing a little bit of that, just hanging out, trying to get healthy, as always. Hang out with this little girl, and trying to sleep more because I'm so obsessed with PUBG that I don't sleep. There was between Sunday and Monday, I slept 1 hour Sunday, 1 hour Monday, because I was like, gotta play PUBG, gotta work. Okay. Back from work, let's play some PUBG. Okay, slept for a little bit. Let's play some PUBG. I was just like, it was bad. So I gotta take some time off and actually take care of myself. And sure, Jaylee, we'll play a little bit if you want. But yeah, I think that is it.
Jaylee's my friend.
No, he's my friend. No, he's my friend. So anyway, great podcast. I enjoyed it with you, Board. Thanks for everyone who stopped by, and we will see you all time. Goodbye, everybody.
Love you, bro.
Have a great one.
See you, everyone.